Hey, what's up, everybody? I hope everybody has been doing such an awesome, what was I gonna say, such an awesome day today. I mean, seriously, there's so much stuff to talk about today. We're gonna have so much fun on tonight's episode. We're now in flight what number is it? Sourblow 70. Oh, Lord, man, we're close to that 100 episode. I mean, 30 more, 30 more, 30 more. Let's go, 30 more to 100. Yes, yes, yes. Let's go. Woohoo! And man, seriously, so much to talk about the FTC versus Microsoft. Such an interesting case, so much stuff to do. And today, guys, I am going to be Judge Louis. I got my hammer ready. I'm going to be between two awesome guests, which, of course, let's introduce our first awesome guest, which is PurpleHaze. Purple, how are you doing today, my dear
I'm
friend?
I'm doing well. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Okay. Awesome. Now I'm doing well. My purple is coming in the background, so that's my strength. So here we go.
Oh, all right, all right, all right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You're doing pretty cool, pretty awesome. And yes, I'm gonna go right through it because hey, we got another awesome guest that's gonna hop on real soon, and that is Ecstasies. And the big Plume is gonna be here soon. Also, he told us in the background in the DMs that he's coaching a couple of the baseball Dominican guys. He's trying to teach that. But anyways, speak about Dominicans. Sourblow, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right. My throat hurts a little bit, but I'm doing great. Excited to have two awesome guests. Purple Haze. Excited to have you here again, and hopefully we're gonna have some awesome conversations today.
Oh yes, we will. Yes, we will. Especially me, since I'm gonna be the judge. Yes. Oh man, I love the sound of my hammer, man. Seriously, that's the best sound in the world. I can go all day like this. Seriously. And speaking about sound, since he's always silent, how are you doing, Silent Set for today, sir?
It was a very strange transition, crazy. I'm doing fantastic, bud. And you know what? Just because we already have purple in here, and I was ready, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my purple a little bit too, if I can. See if we. Oh, my purple's not as good as yours. We're gonna try and get that. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I don't even have purple right now. It's like daytime.
I see it. I see it.
Oh,
I see
wait a
there's a
minute.
little bit.
We're
there.
playing that, huh? I'll be right
Yeah.
back.
Oh, we're gonna change
Oh,
color.
there
We're gonna be changing colors.
There we go.
Man, mine
Mine's
sucks,
more
though.
blue. I guess mine's more blue.
Mine sucks though. I ain't got any colors anywhere, so yeah, mine's not doing
Yeah.
so well. Yeah.
I fail. I guess you're the only one with the good purple. I'll have to figure out where you got your lights. But no, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be hanging out with all of you this evening. Purple, thanks for coming to hang out and enjoy our shenanigans once again. Glad
I'm
we didn't
always in
scare you
chat.
away.
I'm always in chat.
No, but I mean on the actual show. I think
Oh.
I missed out last time. I think I was sick or something. I forget why, but I didn't get to be on the show with you last time. So welcome back. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good times.
Yep, we're gonna have a lot of fun today. It's gonna be one wild episode. And speaking about going
How you
wild,
like that? How you like that?
we, we
Oh,
don't we
nice.
don't we don't see
See,
nothing
that's-
back
that's
there. That was bad. Talk about this looks like my damn wall, man. It's like
I
a
like it.
cheap 5 cent light back there. No, I'm just kidding, sour blow.
At least I have purple in the background.
Oh,
Oh.
shit.
I'm like
Yeah.
someone.
How's that prison cell going, Louis?
Oh, you guys are so mean, but you always so mean to me. Always.
How about
always.
you, Lou? How you been doing, man?
Man, I'm gonna tell you something. I am tired. I've been moving, man. I've been just doing so much stuff, man. I mean, seriously, I need to get myself a W real soon, man. W's the best, man. I need to get a W so I can get my energy up again, man. Just moving stuff, fixing things up. But yes, next week, please, Lord, I hope it does come through. We start remodeling the kitchen because we don't have a kitchen. I don't know. The kitchen is actually kind of broken, so I'm cooking with George Foreman grills and a bunch of stuff. But anyways, enough of my kitchen abilities. Let me ask you guys, what have you been playing? Let us start with Purple. What have you been playing, young lady?
I've been playing a little bit of Zelda. Y'all know I love it. And I've been actually playing a lot, getting back into chess over the last 2 months. So doing a lot of chess in Zelda.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. How about you, Sourblow? What have you been playing, sir?
Oh well, I just wanted to add too. Purple was playing what is it, Wolf Among Us?
Yeah, I beat Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, she beat it, and her chat is very interested. I'm just gonna say that.
Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, it's a great
So,
group. Some of them are here.
yeah, so
So yeah.
yeah, so shout out to Purple Haze and her channel. So go check her out. I believe in the description I have her. Let me double check. Yes, I do. Okay. In her
Hmm.
description, I got her Twitter and I got her YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go over there and follow her.
All right.
Um, Now regarding what I've been playing,
Mm-hmm.
so um, I was playing. Did I mention this last week? Was it last week that I beat it or this week? I don't remember, but I know I was playing Red Dead Redemption,
Yeah,
which I beat.
you mentioned it last week. Yeah, you beat it.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's good spirit.
What did I start? Okay, I started Gotham's Knight, and I haven't really played much of that.
Arkham
And
Knight.
then
You mean Arkham Knight?
no, Gotham's Knight.
Huh? There's a game
Gotham
called.
Knight with it came out last year. I think it was.
Crazy Louis got
Oh,
abducted
you
when
mean
that game came
Gotham
out.
Knights, not Gotham Knight. Gotham Knights.
Okay,
Okay,
I
okay.
forgot an S.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Jeez.
Other than that, I think this week I haven't played that much. My son got an ear infection, and I've been going through with a cold and all that. But I did watch. I want to talk about. I watched the Flash yesterday, and I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know. Some people
Huh?
supposedly didn't like it. I thought it was fun, entertaining, and it was better than I was expecting.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. How about you, Silent? What have you been playing, sir?
Oh man, I've been bouncing around to a few different things, but I have been playing some more Fortnite with my son. We've been trying to work our way to get Optimus Prime because they've got some pretty cool skins there. Besides that, I was playing around with some Command and Conquer on my ROG Ally, which was fun. That was fun to mess around with. Got to play a little bit of Evil Within on it, although, again, one of those ones where it didn't have the cross saves at the time. So I'm kind of like a little bit bitter about playing on that side of things. I kind of want to just stay on the Xbox side and keep playing on that one. But I've been playing a ton of Fallout 4. Fallout 4 has taken over quite a bit of my time recently when I've had free time. It's been a lot of fun to dive back into that world. It's been brutal because I feel like I used to be better at that game and at least get better weapons. And right now I'm getting completely dominated by like almost anything that I go against. Like super mutants, everything is just crushing me. So I don't know. I gotta get some feedback and figure out where I can find like the power fist or find some of the other like really strong weapons because I feel like every time I go into these matches, like it is really pushing it close to me dying, or I do die. Like it's been rough. It's been a rough go.
You. Oh man. Well,
Real, real quick
what's
before
up?
before you mention crazy what you've been playing,
Yep.
I like to apologize. I actually forgot to change the the flight itinerary like in the side, so never mind the topics on the side.
Oh dear Lord.
Sure.
Did you
I
make
just
a,
noticed that. I'm
you
so
you
sorry.
made a Louis today?
Pull the
Yeah, I
Louis.
did.
You
I
pulled a
did.
Louis. Yep. That's something Louis would do. Especially since something happened to me and you guys missed that. Thank God. I'm not even going to mention it on the show because I'm not going to tell you guys. No. But something happened. I was playing Evil Within, but no. But yes, what have I been playing lately? Well, I've been playing Hi-Fi Rush. I'm close to beating it. It's pretty fun. I'm starting to like enjoy it more. At the beginning, I was like, okay, let's keep going. I just hate that you have to like run too much in order to get to the action. But now I'm seeing more action to the game, so I'm actually enjoying it more. And I started playing Evil Within because I said, hey, why don't I jump into this game? Why don't I just start playing it? Because a long time ago I bought it and I was like, let me beat this game, but And I wonder if that's Sour's kids running upstairs.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. I mean, seriously, it's I think we're about to have an earthquake soon. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, we don't want that. No, we don't want that. I'm just kidding, guys. But yeah, I'm playing. I've been playing Evil Within, and I got to chapter 5. Was it chapter 5? And I did better than Sourblow because Sourblow is a coward. He ran away from the game. He started playing it, and I don't know what happened to him, but he ran away. I think he got killed by the big guy at the beginning, probably. Was that it, Sour? Or did you get to the second part?
No, I just noticed I wanted to play something different, so yeah.
All right.
Quick heads up. I don't want Sour to take all the heat on that one. That was totally my kids upstairs as well. It sounded like my house was falling down. I don't know what the heck they were doing up there, but I think we're good to go now. So apologies.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You know, kids will be kids. As long as it's not me running around, it's better. So I don't get the blame for it. Yes. But anyway, Sour. We got a lot of stuff going on today. I mean, we got to talk about what's been going on with the FTC.
Well, real quick.
What's up? Real quick.
We actually got Plume in the house. So
all right, let's make get Plume in here so we can ask him what he's been playing and how he has been. Our awesome baseball coaches, Dominican baseball players. All right, let's get Plume in here.
Sorry, I'm late, guys.
What's up, Plume? How are you?
I'm just trying to shove down some food. Just got in,
You're good. You're good.
Oh man, you lucky man. I haven't eaten all day. All I ate was grapes and a bag of Japanese peanuts. That's all I've been eating today. Yep, that's all I've been eating
grapes and
today.
Japanese peanuts.
Yep.
Interesting.
What a weird combination. Yep, that's a weird combination. That's what I ate today. But yes, what?
Do Japanese peanuts just taste like regular peanuts?
They're like crunchy and they're pretty good. They're like crunchy peanuts. Yeah,
Nice.
It tastes real good. But anyways, Plume, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Got lots to talk about. Wait, let me just swallow this so you don't see all the food. I'm doing good. Lots to talk about. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see Louis with his gavel or whatever you call it, the thing that you hit with the court. So
I have it right here.
it's the $75.
No, what?
Plastic.
yeah,
75 pesos, man. That's like $1.25.
$75.
$75. What would I spend for $75 on that?
That's what it looked like to me. But anyways, I'm doing good. Lots to talk about. So I don't want to hold up and just barge in here. Let's keep the show rolling.
All right. What have you been playing though, sir? Before we continue.
What have I been playing? So I've been playing a bunch of random stuff. I've been playing Zelda. I'm continuously playing. I'm finally finishing Hogwarts Legacy, and I started playing that Fist game that came out on Game Pass last night.
What?
I played it for like an hour or so. Fist, it's like a side-scrolling action. It's really cool. It's like a Metroidvania style game, and it's really fun so far. So it just launched on Game Pass.
All right. Awesome. Sour. What do you say? Should we launch this? Where is our other guy? Man, we got other guys.
We actually have our other guest here.
Oh, right. Awesome. Yes, we get to get the show on. Yes, I get to do my intro, from People's Court. Yeah. All right. Where's our other guest, Sourblow? Did you get him in here? The awesome, the cool.
He's on screen.
Hello, Ecstasies. How are you doing, sir? Can you hear us?
Muted. Okay, I'm fine. I'm here. How are you guys?
Oh,
ladies,
how's it going, man?
this time. How are you?
Oh, we are good. How you been? Oh man, I'm just happy to see you here, man. I'm happy. I want to hear your thoughts because hey, I gotta say thank you to you too because I know a lot of people has been saying thank you to the FOSS, FOSS panels for keeping up with the court hearings and everything. But you, man, have been nailing it. I've been reading all your stuff. I want to say thank you on behalf of all the Spanish community. That's awesome that you've been keeping us updated and everything that's been going on. Thank you so much, Ecstasies. That's awesome on your behalf, brother. Really, thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
Ecstasies, please tell us what have you been playing, sir?
I'm playing Judge Simulator, following all the hearings of the FTC. I haven't been playing now. I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Asus ROG Ally, this one, and let me think. A little bit of Fortnite and the Halo Infinite too. Halo Infinite with the new Season 4. I'm playing, and it's fine. It's fine. I'm happy. I'm happy with the state of Halo right now.
All right, I'm hearing
It's a
good.
word for me because I'm very critic, but I'm fine with the state of the game right now.
All right, good stuff, man. I'm happy that I'm hearing lots of good stuff about it. I mean, I tried it out the other day, and I was like, wow, this has changed a lot since last time I played it. It looks better.
I was playing yesterday with Shaddai.
Huh! Oh
Halo.
Lord.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I was asking for Sour, and he said that you have been, for sure, would have been sleeping, for sure. dijo la palabra roncando. Squeezing is in inglés. Snoozing.
Oh,
Snoozing.
wait. The
Roncando.
Snoring. But
Oh,
who,
yeah.
oh man, but who was snoring? Me or Silent?
You.
No, Sour.
Sour.
Oh.
Not me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Although I
But
probably was.
anyways, oh man, let me go real quick through the chat so we can start the show. Let's say hello to Mark Chung. Hello, welcome, Mark Chung, back from the dead. What's up, brother? Back Sanchez Martinez Gaming. Hello. Oh, Ham Solo. What's up, Ham Solo? How are you doing, brother? Let me see. There's Ambi. Hello, Ambi. What's up, Ambi? Welcome. Going down the list. Yo, Talos, the man with the ray. What's up, Talos? Hope you're doing awesome. Carlos Angeles, que lo que, mi hermano Carlos? He's here. Rumamba, what's up, Rumamba? Welcome. Going down. FCat, hello, FCat. That's a cool name. FCat reminds me of SWAT Cats. Yeah. I just loved that cartoon back in the day. Didn't you all love SWAT Cats? I loved it. It was pretty cool. David Wilson, what's up, David Wilson? Welcome, sir. Keep going. Rachie. Hello, Rachie. How are you doing, Rachie? Hope everything is well with you. Going down. Cammy, what's up, Cammy? Happy to see you here hanging out with us. Raul Moya. What's up, Raul Moya? Woohoo! Ooh, man, that's a lot of people. I'm starting to run out of my lungs now. Oh, Lord. Ooh. Let me see. Where's in my tongue? Rumamba. Who else is here? Kitos, what's up, Kitos? Welcome, Kitos. Let me see. And that's, and Jesus. Hello, Jesus. What's up? And man, Sour, let's get the show on the road. So, Captain, please make our in-flight announcement because really, I am running out of breath. It's Timmy and Dark. What's up, Timmy and Dark? I hope everything is awesome with you guys, too.
You're muted, Captain.
Or Captain is muted.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Go for it, Captain.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sour's turned on the subscribe button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Please do so. Please stow your food and beverages next to your desk, underneath your seat, or in front of you. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelt. And also make sure that you've hit that notification bell. We gently remind you that smoking and drinking are not prohibited on this flight. However, busting my chops about a wrestling game that you know is going to be mid when it launches is strictly prohibited. If you have any questions about today's flight, please don't hesitate to ask one of our flight panelists. Thank you.
All right. I'm happy that I did not get, the strictly prohibited this week. Thank you. Woohoo!
We're gonna have to eject this
I know this
today.
plane's going down. Oh,
Why?
What's
Because of a
going
bad wrestling game?
hey.
Shut up, Lou. You were hyping it too. Anyway.
Men in tights. Okay.
Anyway, so we have a very long and interesting topic today,
Yes.
in which I would like to start. Well, we have talked about it a lot in this channel. I guess every gaming channel has been covering it as of lately. And I just want to start by saying, well, first of all, we did some false marketing. We did a little bit of clickbait, so sorry about that. This is not an actual debate, who gets who or anything like that. This is just a discussion between friends talking about gaming. We might have different opinions. And, hopefully, as this chat always been great, we respect each other's opinion. At the end of the day, they're just opinions. And, some of them are going to be based on, our personal opinion and what we think and based on some of the facts that we kind of can correlate with. But anyway, besides that, please please subscribe to our guests channels such as PurpleHaze, which the link is in the description. Also Ecstasy, which probably it could be the other way around. He can tell his subscribers to subscribe to our channel because it's like he has a very large channel. But
Let's
anyway,
go.
I want to start with
So,
the
so
general. Oh, sorry. What was that?
do you want me to do an introduction on my side, or you?
Oh yeah,
good?
yeah.
Oh,
I forgot. We got a very special introduction for our guests from our captain.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, for those in attendance this evening, we have a very special match for you. In the first corner, a person who hates Lara Croft, the person who played a lot of Stadia, the person who played MK Tournament like Jade, the root beer goddess herself, PurpleHaze.
Thanks for
And in the
that.
other corner, they call him Fake Insider. He loves Todd Howard, as you can see in his background, and Hideo Kojima. He loves soccer and baseball. He is also very good in shooters and competitive gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, Ecstasies!
and don't forget, he taught Anna Konikova to play tennis. Don't forget about that.
And play ball.
All right,
Well,
go.
all right.
Alright.
So
Well,
here we go. Can I say court session begins and slam my hammer or no?
Go ahead.
Court session begins in Crazy's court. Let's go.
All right. Well, anyway.
That was for $75. That was the weakest sounding hammer I've ever heard.
Oh man. But anyway, so we have that. Shit.
What?
Okay, my scenes are jumping all over the place. I don't know what's going on, but anyway. So we have that Microsoft announced last year the purchase of, or at least the intention to purchase the Activision Blizzard for around $70 billion. So I want to start with our guests. What was their initial thoughts on the whole acquisitions, and what was your take at that moment? And let's start with PurpleHaze. Purple, at that moment, what was your initial thought for a purchase of that size?
I thought it was a lot. The first thing that came to my mind was it was a lot of money. I started to think that, I started kind of going into my anti-capitalist mode of that's more than most countries spend on defense, and not that that's a great thing, but I kind of was like that's ridiculous. That's was my initial thought.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. Yeah, I was surprised too, because they just came out of the Bethesda purchase, which was what, $7 billion, and then right around 70 billion. That was kind of insane. But Ecstasy, how about you? What was your initial thought on?
Okay, I was covering my channel on December of 2021 that Microsoft have been, because I'm a LinkedIn rat, a LinkedIn stalker, and have been seeing that Microsoft have been contratando, no me sale la palabra, contracting people to integrate a huge gaming enterprise into Microsoft Gaming. And we have been speculating this could be, but we never been thinking an enterprise of that size. You know what I mean? It's okay, they could buy Sega, they could buy Techland, he could buy, I don't know, but Activision Blizzard King is the most huge publisher. Third publisher is the biggest. So I can't believe that. It was wow. I've been in my bed, I remember, and say wow, okay, Bloomberg, what the fuck are you saying? And then we've seen the Xbox Wire post, and wow. But I knew or I suspected that something big was going to be happening, but not at that size. That was so huge.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I'm gonna switch to I'm gonna switch to this camera because the scenes are going all over the place. I'm trying to get everyone while they're talking, and for some reason, it's going wild. I guess I don't know. It's too much powerhouse today. Okay, well, after that, I'm gonna go quickly of some of the things that happened. We started seeing some of the different countries approve the deal. We had like around 37 countries, which one of them, we're counting the European, which have several countries, and it added up to 37. But then we saw the CMA actually block the deal, and then we have that Microsoft appealed the deal. So I believe around that time, I believe actually before that time, PurpleHaze actually called it, and she had a strong opinion, or a strong at least based on some of the facts that she thought she managed. She thought that the deal would not go through. That was her opinion. I don't know if it was from the very beginning, but at least before that even happened, that the CMA blocked. I do remember watching a video in which she said that for her the deal would not go through. Purple, can you kind of remind us, like, what was your reason for your opinion for the deal not going through? And after this happened, does this kind of uh like did this strengthen your thought on the deal not going through?
Yeah. So just a little background, like on the deal. So like if you look at mergers and acquisitions traditionally, the larger the merger, the less likely it's going to go through. This is just a historical way of looking at it. Once you start to add in certain companies, it even goes down even further. So once you start to look at like incumbents that are like, let's say in the top 10 of an industry, top 5, it's going to be scrutinized. And so I looked at that and I said, the deal has a high barrier to pass. And then I also looked at the fact that when the deal was initially announced, Activision Blizzard was a very distressed asset. And then up until January, it was no longer a distressed asset. It kind of had kind of all the baggage it kind of had lost. So I said the deal was no longer worth 70 billion. And I always thought that was going to be like a very big sticking point in this deal. Like it was a price disagreement. And that is like, if you look at it for deals that normally fall apart, 80% of the deals fall apart because of price disagreement. And so that's actually kind of what then I started looking further into it. And that is when I started to see like, okay, it's not just regulators aren't just looking into it. They actually have some pretty strong evidence for what they're putting out there. And it was primarily when I started going through the CMA's remedial report. The remedies report, what they were asking for in remedies back in early February. And at that point, I said that based upon what Microsoft is saying and knowing what the laws are in the UK, I did not see a path forward unless Microsoft was able to renegotiate.
Okay, and you also did mention because maybe that wasn't actually the video I saw, which kind of you added to this in another video that I saw, which was also that you thought that another reason why the deal might not go through is because they had a set timeline where the deal had to close. If the deal didn't close within that time frame, then they will have to renegotiate again. Can you run us through that?
It's kind of like the same thing, is that it has to be because of the size of the deal. Like normally to get a deal through, it's 18 to 24 months. The larger that deal gets, it's very hard, just the logistics to get it done in that amount of time. So July 18th was always the date. And once I started to see kind of how the courts were stacking the dates and what Microsoft was doing on the background, what Activision was doing, like the actual actions, not words, but actual actions, it became apparent to me that Microsoft and or Activision, those parties were not willing to do, let's say, like what an AT&T and Time Warner were willing to do back in 2017 when they merged. And that deal took almost 24 to 36 months. So once I saw that that was not there, I said, it's got to go, it has to be renegotiated. And the closer it gets to that date and the less likely there's a renegotiation, knowing that you have pending trials, knowing that there's quite a bit of hurdles to go through, I said that it goes back to the same thing. It needed to be renegotiated. And unless you see a movement on that front, I thought it was going to fall through.
All right. Well, I have followed Ecstasy since a long time, and he's been covering the whole Activision Blizzard since the beginning, and he's been on the side. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Ecstasy, that he he had high hopes that the deal is gonna go through. However, he was kind of he has went up and down. He's been like 50-50. He has been a little bit like, okay, this happened. I think there's a higher possibility that it will go through, but he always kind of saw the possibility that it could fail. And one of the reasons was the one that you mentioned, that once the time frame expired, they would have to renegotiate. And he, just like you have mentioned before, Purple Haze, when we've been talking, that he doesn't trust Bobby Kotick. So, Ecstasy, can you give us your side of, why you think? Well, what is your take on the deal at that moment? Like, did you think the deal was gonna go through when the CMA blocked, or what was your opinion at that time, and how has it changed at this moment?
Okay, my opinion and my vibes with all the following case, it has been like a roller coaster, because in the first steps of the deal, I was thinking like, okay, I work as a lawyer, and I understand I'm not a lawyer with a specific knowledge of mergers and acquisitions, but I've been studying all the case to have the enough knowledge to talk to the people about this. So in the first steps, I was like, okay, this is legal. You don't have any theory of harm that you can say this is illegal, because we talk about numbers, we talk about market shares, we talk about all that stuff, and in the papers, black over white, this is legal. But okay, I was talking since the beginning that I was very afraid about the new age of regulators. The new age of regulators are FTC and CMA, because their analysis don't have based on the numbers, they base on qualitative theories. Think thoughts, opinions. We think that this is going to happen because this is a nasty market. We can't predict, but we think. So when you talk with numbers, the numbers don't lie. But if you talk with theories, everyone can have a theory. So I was always afraid about CMA. Why CMA and not FTC? FTC, I've always said, they don't have nothing to do, because there is a legal difference very important between FTC and CMA. CMA can block acquisitions. FTC can't block acquisitions. The law in the United States don't allow block acquisitions by the FTC. The FTC just can recommend, just can go to make an injunction, and the judge decides, not the FTC. The FTC evaluates and prepares their case. The CMA is different. The CMA can block, and then you can appeal. And okay, I say, the merger is legal, the CMA has lost their mind. Okay, it's fine, but if I study the appeal process in UK, I find that, wow, the appeal process in the UK is very hard. It's very difficult. It's not like a standard judge, a standard law process. It's not a standard review. You don't evaluate the merits of the case. The judge don't evaluate the merits of the case. Just evaluate the process. You have made a legal process, or your process is illegal. Procedural law, just that. And that's why I don't like that system, and I think that you are this. How do you say this? You are like
Handcuffed.
cage. Yeah. You are like in a cage. So that's why I think that, okay, if you go by the legal way, I think that the deal is very, very difficult. But if Microsoft is going to the illegal way and they are not going to take account whatever UK says, this deal is happening right now. But if you have to wait the appeal process, what is going to happen with the appeal process and all that stuff, we don't know what happened, because you have to extend, Bobby Kotick has to agree, and how many times the shares of Activision Blizzard King are going to be on a cage too. So that's why I'm worried about UK. Don't worry about FTC. I've never been worried about China. I've never been worried about Europe, because I trust in the process. But I don't trust in the process of UK, and that's why I hope that Microsoft is going to press the red button and leave the UK, say whatever you want, and let's do this. Because if you are going to follow the legal process of UK, that is a mystery, and it's a very hard mystery to Microsoft.
You know what I found insane about this case? Like, for example, this morning a news popped out, and I was like, man, seriously, this guy Bobby Kotick, oof. I mean, he was already negotiating with PlayStation. I mean, he said if this deal does not fall through, I'm going to sit down with PlayStation and make new contracts. I was like, what? I was like, are you with the deal or are you against the deal? You know, I mean, I was.
We're getting
He's-
it. We're getting it.
He's with Activision, is what he is. He's
Yeah.
covering his ass. He wants the best
Yeah.
outcome no matter what
Yeah.
happens, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's not really. At the end of the day, he's seeing the pushback, and he knows he has to set himself up. So if the deal doesn't fall, if the deal falls through, they're still going to be able to be making. We saw like what was the lifetime with $30 billion or something of Call of Duty they've made. So they want to make sure that continues to roll. So
Yeah,
it's for Activision.
that was
All right.
insane.
Well, real quick to jump ahead a little bit. We got, after the whole appeal from Microsoft, we got that Microsoft hired. I forgot who they hired, but I know they made a hiring in order to evaluate if there was a way to close the deal without
I don't know the
CMA.
names, but that's happened. Yeah, we don't know
Yeah.
the names who have been hired, but
But yeah, exactly.
they did it.
And, so for some people, this was a bluff. For some people, they really are evaluating this. But the point is that right after this, the FTC took things to court. And now we're here with the 6-day hearing. So I want to first, let's start with you, Plume. What do you think about the whole thing with them closing the deal? Do you think this was actually a bluff and somehow this accelerated things for them, or do you think they truly are looking for a way to see if they can close without the CMA?
I don't know. It's a hard one. Like, I don't know if it's it seems like it's a buff, because as we're seeing so far, what are we, day 4 in court? From an outsider's perspective, whether or biased or not, because I mean, obviously I want Activision games on Game Pass. I think that would be great, just more value for the service. But it just seems like, from listening to everything and reading everything, Microsoft their case is just so much stronger than the FTC's, and maybe they kind of already knew that, and waiting all the way until August 2nd after they had gone ahead and closed it on July 18th would have been a worse outcome, or not the way that they wanted to go. So I feel like this was the better option for them. If this all gets solved by the end of next week or so, however long it takes, and then they can close the deal there and they win against the FTC, it's just going to be finishing off going through the appeals process with the CMA, and then their decision, if they lose that, if they're going to be sticking in the UK or not, like Ecstasy said, right? Are they going to leave? Are they going to stay? All that type of stuff. So I don't know. It seems like it was a pretty smart move. They all seemed pretty happy after the temporary restraining order, whatever it's called, and that they're happy that they're in court now. So it makes sense.
All right. Okay. Well, we have the hearing. We've been listening to and seeing a lot of this information leaking. Let's go back to you, Purple, real quick. What's your thought on, at this moment right now, with everything that has been leaking, everything that we've seen so far with the hearing and listened to? Are you still in the same train that deal will be blocked, or have you changed mind a little bit, or at least have it 50-50? Give us your thought in general, what you think about everything that's going on, and basically your opinion.
Yeah, so if you heard me, I never said the deal is going to be blocked. I said the deal is going to fall through.
Okay.
Right. That's a distinct difference. To actually block a deal, more deals don't fall through versus get blocked. Very few deals actually get blocked by regulators. I actually 100% believe it. And one of the reasons why, oh my gosh, calm down, little one. I have a dog barking in the back. But one of the reasons this is because just like right, we heard about the CMA and their appeals process, and Microsoft's got it like this inedible task to go through. Well, the same thing would happen in the U.S. court system. Even if the FTC were to not get the injunction, but they could probably still file for a temporary restraining order if they were to lose their preliminary injunction. And most likely the judge at that point would still give them a temporary restraining order while they filed their appeal. But with that said, I actually think the FTC proved their case. They proved it they needed 2 days. They used 2 days, and they used the 2 days to prove it. Even though Microsoft asked for 4.5, I think the FTC proved it within 2. On top of that, one of the biggest things, and this isn't talked about as much, but it's very much the case, in international law, you generally have like alliances and agreements between certain countries, and they share common law. When we talk about the United States, and this is same for war, if you look at classified information, if you look at intelligence reports, if you look at just trade agreements, there's a certain group of countries that the United States pairs with. That's United States, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, Australia. They have their special designator. It's always those countries. And why is it always those countries? And it's because they share similar law. And so if we look at this deal from that lens, you see that those countries, because New Zealand just came out with the report, and most likely Australia will follow New Zealand because New Zealand has the stronger anti-competitive or antitrust laws. What you've seen is those countries have taken a very similar approach to this case. And when you look at the United States judicial, calm down, I want to make my point. And so when you look at the United States, generally, when it comes to antitrust, the United States goes by precedent. It very rarely is the one that's going to lead the lead. So right now, I feel like I think the FTC made their case for antitrust based upon or not even for antitrust, for a preliminary injunction based on what you need to do for a preliminary injunction. But on top of that, it's going to be very hard for a judge, let me remind you, this federal judge, to make a decision that goes against what's already been precedent. And that's like kind of the ultimate thing. So even if she were to say no preliminary injunction, very rarely is a judge going to then turn around and say, and that's the end of it. The FTC still has avenues to delay it, and it's that delaying because they have a strong enough case, if not already a case, that I believe the deal falls through.
May I ask you, when you say the FTC, proved their case, in what matter do you believe that they proved their case?
So they have to prove 3 things for a preliminary injunction, right? They have to prove market definition. They have to prove their evidence Right, they have a case. It doesn't say that they have to prove anti-competitive nature. They have to prove that they have standing and they have a case, that their theories of harm make sense. And then they have to prove on the balance of equities. What that means is they have to prove that on its face value, allowing the injunction would hurt Microsoft less than if you don't allow the injunction, and how that hurts the FTC. Traditionally, regulatory bodies will win this, especially because the deal right now, Microsoft and Activision are two private entities. They could easily renegotiate, in this whole idea about we're running up against a timeline, we're doing so forth. That actually runs, the courts don't necessarily care about that. They're going to say, you created this timeline arbitrarily on your own. You can recreate the timeline. You can renegotiate the terms of the deal. You can recreate whatever. So when you look at the balance of equities, you look at the market definition, and then you look at what was presented, which was, if we think about what's been happening in Apple, what's happened at Google, what's happened at Facebook, when we see the language that was seen in the Microsoft documents, that is the exact same language that has gotten those other tech companies also in trouble from an anti-competitive nature.
Interesting. Ecstasy, on your end, what do you respond to? Like, do you think that the FTC, or to your knowledge, has, you know, has answered to basically the concerns, or like,
Okay.
or
Of course, I agree in the 3 points that you need to prove the preliminary injunction to obtain that preliminary injunction. But in my opinion, the FTC couldn't prove their market definition. But okay, it's easy that the Judge Carly can approve that market definition. I agree of that, of course. But I think that they don't make a good case to prove their market definitions, and we could see that. There is Nintendo, there is no Nintendo. Cloud is a separate market, is not a separate market, because, okay, I'm an FTC liar. I have to defend that the cloud is a separate market, but NVIDIA says that cloud is not a separate market. All my witnesses said that cloud is not a separate market. So I think that that's hard to prove, that you know that better than the market participants. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
in the second point, the FTC has to prove that they have a case and they have chances to win their case. In my opinion, and what I've been seeing these days, I can't agree that the FTC has a case. Sorry, this is not for bias. This is not about for nothing. I just thinking that they don't know where are they going. Any regulators are all around the world agree that the console market is not harmed with this acquisition. Nobody. The CMA, we don't have reference before that they eliminate a theory of harm, and they remove that. And never before happened that. They removed. Why? Why they did that? Of course, I agree that the CMA wanted to block this, but they want to eliminate the ways of an appeal. That's why they said, okay, if we use this theory of the console, we are not going anyway, and we could give.
Oops, we lost him there.
We lost Ecstasy's. No.
The
Uh-oh.
FTC, FTC
Machado.
blocked him.
Okay,
there we
okay.
go.
Oh, he's back.
Okay. What I have been saying that the CMA removed that theory because they wanted to don't give ammunition to Microsoft for the appeal process, because I think that they wanted to block. But in my opinion, making I don't know how to say, a símil, haciendo un símil, haciendo un símil. ¿Cómo se dice, Luis? Como haciendo un símil, haciendo una metáfora.
Metaphor.
Making a metaphor is like, okay, the CMA, they use a sniper. They just use one bullet to shoot the unique theory of harm that can be proved because Okay, the CMA is making theories, is making speculating about the cloud, but if you want to take down that speculation of cloud, they are going to say to you, okay, you are turning down my speculation, making another speculation. But in the theory of consoles, in the market of consoles, the numbers are not with you. In USA, in UK, in Europe, in China, in Korea, in Australia, wherever, the numbers in the console market aren't with any regulator, and that's why they aren't used. So, about the collaboration between regulators, I agree, and of course they have agreements, international agreements about the regulators, but it's I don't know how to say llamativo. Llamativo.
Llamativo, se me fue. Oh
It's
man.
like
It draws
striking.
attention.
It's a striking. It's striking that the FTC sure never called the European Commission, and they have been talking, I remember, 26 times with the CMA or more. I don't remember the number. It's very striking. You don't think so? And with my experience, sometimes I work close to the European Commission. For my experience, the European Commission has a lot of more experience than the CMA. The CMA is a new regulator. The CMA is like a college team against the best teams of the world. It's like the the CMA before the 2018, 2019, they never worked with international mergers, just UK mergers. Never before 2020 or 2019, I don't remember. So the FTC, the USA, the most bigger country around the world, don't talk with the number one regulator around the world, that is the European Commission. For me, it's a surprise. Why? I don't know why. I don't understand that. And we have to talk about I don't remember how to say in English, but it's like for obtain that preliminary injunction, you need to prove that the damage you make with that is not, I don't know how to say exactly. The damage you make with that preliminary injunction is lesser than the damage you can do to the consumers, or I don't know how to say that, because I don't work with common law. I work with Roman law. I don't know exactly what are the terms, but I understand that seriously the FTC prove harm to the consumers. They don't talk about consumers. They talk about Sony.
Yep.
And I don't understand where are going the American taxes. Really.
Yeah.
The European Commission, I have been watching every paper in Europe. They talk about the Eurozone, they talk about the consumers, they talk about the prices. Here, Sony. Can you oath that Sony is going to get all the games on the cloud? Sony, why aren't you asking about, okay, can you oath that you are going to share all your games with every cloud streaming service that make que te lo pida? ¿Cómo se dice? Que te lo pida.
Asking for it.
That asking for it? That's why I don't understand how they can prove this. Of course, a preliminary injunction is easy than win the case. That okay, but why? I have to ask why you can prove that harm to the consumers and an immediate harm to the consumers and not the damage make it to Microsoft that had to pay $3 billion.
No, so two things, right? You said market definition. So let me start on market definition. Are you aware of the Supreme Court case of brown shoes? It's a very important Supreme Court case. Okay, what does Brown Shoes say for market
Branch
definition?
said that I was reading, and it was like a medium range shoe and a low price shoe. No, it's like not different markets.
But that defined what in antitrust cases in the United States, and it's been built upon in every antitrust case as far as market definition. So when you are looking at a nascent market, which it's only been in the last few decades where we've said vertical mergers cannot be challenged. However, historically, vertical mergers were always challenged. And so in Brown, and so we are using the market definition, and that's what exactly they proved today when they were asking Satya Nadella about who the competitors were when he was talking to the board, because it was established at that point that a firm in its own competition of who they consider a competitor can then say what the market actually is. So when you talk about market definition on economics, yes, it's easy to make an economic definition if we're talking about a monopoly currently. But when you're talking about a market that you're looking in the forward, it has been established when we look at innovation that you don't have the numbers. And this was actually reaffirmed in the Meta Within case earlier this February when the FTC took Meta to court. Meta was able to win on market definition in a very nascent market, which was healthcare virtual reality apps. So in that case, Brown Shoes was referenced. So let's make sure that when we talk about when we're talking about market definition, it's not, especially in nascent markets, you don't have numbers, and it's been established that you cannot have numbers. When we talk about the theories of harm, there's 3 theories of harm, correct? There's console, there's cloud, there's subscription services. Here's where you're right. The FTC was pushing a theory that the other ones dropped. However, the one that neither side, especially the Microsoft side, now that we saw that market definition today, whether it was through the NVIDIA, whether it was in Satya Nadella's, whether it was in historically what Microsoft has said was a market definition, we say it's there. When we look at the going forward, the CMA pretty much laid out the same case the FTC did in this regard. And that's where they said that they own the entire vertical. Okay. And so that's where you now start to talk about, do you create a monopoly? And one of the most damning pieces of evidence that was talked about today was what? It was when the judge asked, hey, if you can't do it on, if they don't get it on cloud, they can get it on PC, right? Or if they can't get it on PlayStation, they can go to PC. And then it was saying, well, they own the PC Windows market. Then when NVIDIA said, hey, why did you turn around in the deal? We turned around in the deal because we were given a Windows-free licensing fee. Microsoft owns the ability to control the cost structure of a cloud competitor.
Yeah, but if I made a Signet agreements, what's the problem? If I made a Signet agreement?
Because it's not necessarily about an agreement, right? Because every single time of no, it's not. That's the courts have already said it's
the FTC always win. So they always win because
no, they do not always win.
Of course, they have they play with the rules wherever they want. It's like, okay, nobody says this is a market, a distinct market, but we said because they can't prove that console market, Nintendo is out of that console market. They didn't prove that today and yesterday and the other. Never.
So once again, there's 3 theories of harm. You don't have to. All they have to do is prove one of the theories of harm, right? So
and then,
okay,
they could have a theory of harm, but we have 2 points more.
Right. So then we took and so you said the harm to consumers. It's a harm to the market participants, not consumers. When we look at the preliminary injunction, when we look at the anti-competitive nature, we also look at consumers. But which is
the harm that the FTC proved today to the competitors, to the competition.
Here's the thing: if you let the merging parties go through, the FTC now has to work to do a breakup if the deal is found to be anti-competitive. That is a much harder burden than for the 2 companies willing to merge or to buy whatever they're doing to just renegotiate. That is a standard the companies can control. So that's how the court would look at that.
But that's the trap with that the regulators are playing right now. They don't have the laws. They don't have nothing. Just give us time, give us time, give us time, and give us time. And of course, time with these big enterprises is money, and we are losing money because we want time. We want time. Why? And I'm sorry, sorry for the my vocabulary because I have to say that. But why the fuck they make this preliminary injunction, this motion right now? Not in December, not in November, not in January, not in February, because we play with that time. We want to fuck you. We don't care about nothing.
So let's talk about what do you need to get a preliminary injunction, right? You need to have you have to have evidence that the parties are going to potentially buy. Now, here's the thing. You asked about this earlier, Sourblow. You asked about, do we think they were bluffing? In the preliminary filings for this thing, the FTC proves their point to say, like, this is why we need to do this right now. Because Microsoft was saying, if we cannot have a case by the 18th, we will close the case, or we will go ahead
They didn't say that. They didn't say that.
They did.
That's about the press. No, they didn't say that.
No, the acquisition in Microsoft in their filing, in Microsoft's filing, in asking the judge to expedite the court case, they did say
with the
that.
gamers, but you are talking about the gamers lawsuit, or where did they say that?
I'm talking about when the FTC submitted their case to go for a preliminary injunction, and then Microsoft responded to that. They said when they requested for an expedited court hearing.
But that's a reaction, not an action. That's a reaction, not an action.
You can... But if you're... And this is what they pointed out. They're saying, why do you need an expedited case unless you're trying to close right now? And that was the whole thing. If it was about, like, okay, we don't necessarily need it expedited, we can maybe push it out a little bit more, they wouldn't have said that. But that was what Microsoft said in their filing.
But you tell me that really, I hear you and I understand that you are a professional of law, and you can assure that an American regulator with all the money of the American tape access, they need 4 years to assure that this is anti-competitive or competitive, really?
But you're telling me, so you're telling me
so bad about smaller regulators in less time. They need 4 years, or they are trying to.
Let me ask you this, because I hear this number about the regulators in how many countries. Tell me when was Brazil? Since we like to talk about Brazil, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, China, Korea, Japan. Tell me when these regulators actually canceled a deal.
Well, I don't understand the question.
Tell me, when did these regulators actually block a deal?
Nobody?
No, exactly. These are not regulators who block deals. These are not regulators.
But the European Commission has a constructive way.
Let's talk
American
about
way is destructive. We want to destroy this. I don't care about the facts. I don't care about nothing, because we have to say because
let's talk about the European Union. Let's talk about the European Union.
And I tell you that you are American professional of law. I have to think that this is not about the law. This is not about the fact. This is just political.
Every law is political.
Because Joe Biden said that they were going to fight against big tech, and they used their laboratory rat. This is this merger, and this merger with the the Clayton Act. This is not anti-competitive. They don't have the numbers, and they don't prove nothing in these days. I told you, I have been following every day, and they did nothing. Since December that they went to the administrative law judge, they did nothing. I swear, I was, when I talked
I'm not doubting you're not swearing, but here's the thing. I continue to ask. So you brought up a couple of points, and so I'm taking them one by one, right? And so I continue to say, once again, we talked about a vertical merger. The largest vertical merger that's happened in the United States.
But what was it recently? This don't care about the size. This is not matter of the size.
No, but I'm just... It does matter about the size because that's the evidence that has to go. So when we think about vertical mergers, how long do you normally take? Who is in control of saying how long you put the terms of the conditions of the vertical merger in place? Those are the parties, correct? The parties.
Yeah.
So when we negotiate, when we go to a client and we say, hey, we're about to do a merger, we put in the terms and conditions. Is it 18 months? Is it 24 months? Is it 36 months? What is the breakup fee and so forth, correct? That's what. So when we look at the merger right now, and the similar merger where we know we have maybe a vertical theory of harm, I continue to bring up the most recent one that the FCC has tried was what? It was AT&T and Time Warner. And how long did that merger take?
I don't remember.
Yes, it took almost 3 years, and you had 2 different times that they had to renegotiate the merger. This is not uncommon to say that you need to renegotiate the timeline. That is within the private entities to do, right? I'm not saying, see, there's the thing. I'm not saying the FTC is going to win their case. I'm saying that the biggest thing that the parties can do to say that they're going to win their case is that they need to renegotiate the deal. If they were to renegotiate the timeline for whatever reason, for 6 months or so forth, because it's good. 24 months is traditionally a decent amount of time. That's what we're advising at the moment. If they were to do that, then I would say, hey, potentially they'll let it go through. But because they're not doing that, I have to think that this entire thing was not, I think Microsoft absolutely wants this deal to go through. But I've said from the beginning, it needs a renegotiation. And the reason it's not going to get renegotiated is not Microsoft, it's Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, I agree with you with the Activision Blizzard way of the renegotiation. I agree with you, but really I can't understand that we just have to annoy you, because this is for annoy you. This is, you don't really. I have been watching this and I've never seen nothing about proof that they have a chance to win their case. They did not prove nothing. Nothing.
They
did not
proved,
prove
like I
nothing.
said,
They don't
no,
have.
I mean,
they don't prove harm to the competition. Which
they proved harm to the marketplace. They proved harm to the marketplace. See, and this is the problem. See, y'all quoted false patent, and let me tell you, because you said you are someone of the law. False patent is not barred in the United States. He's never tried a court trial in the United States. I don't think he's ever worked in antitrust law in the United States. I don't think he's ever worked in antitrust law in the United States in the tech industry. And when the only evidence that he does say is back from the 90s. So when you use that definition, that is your source of truth. It's false patent.
No, it's not. It's
not yours, but it's part of the echo chamber. It's false patent.
No, false patents have been invited in my channel. I've been talking with him sometimes, and I talk with him, and we disagree in a lot of things. I think that
but I'm just saying in general, the echo chamber.
But I think that because you said that, I think that this guy have a lot of experience in the patents market and the market judge. He's an observer.
Difference.
He's an observer. Yeah,
that's a big difference. You just said patent law. That's a big difference. You just said patent law and antitrust law.
He's like I don't know how to say it, but I think that he has the knowledge to talk about this. I think
we all have the knowledge to talk about it. But what I am saying though is that when you take the knowledge of someone who's actually practiced law in the United States versus one who's not practiced law in the United States, that is a big, big difference. And so when you think about the court precedent, again, I go back to Meta Within in February, and you look at the theories of harm that were brought there. Even though the FTC lost, they still proved the theories of harm for innovation. And it's just because in the United States, this was traditionally what antitrust law was built on. This is what the Sherman Act and the Clayton Act actually have within them. So just because it's not been done recent doesn't mean it hasn't been done at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that the I don't know how to say in English. Oh my god, The jurisprudence, okay, it's the same. The jurisprudence, of course, could be of the 90s, the 80s, the 60s. You are using brown shoe as it is from the 60s. You're talking about first patent talk about a case of 90s, and the FTC always proves their market definition with a case of the 60s. Brown shoe is one from the 60s or 70s.
Well, it builds up. It builds up, right? It's just like brown shoe, yeah. But that's how the U.S. law is, right? That's one of the main differences between U.S. law, UK law. Like we
Yeah, of course.
and then
I try to explain to the people that don't have the knowledge about this in my channel. I try to explain that the common law is different than the European law, the Roman law, and it's like the jurisprudence makes the law. I understand that, and I always say I understand Lina Khan of the FTC way that the Democrat Party has lied to them. It's like, okay, we are going to fight against the big tech. We are going to give you the tools, but you don't have the tools. And you, I am paraphrasing Lina Khan, you lose the shots that you don't shot. So that's why they are shooting anyway to see if they are lucky. But meanwhile, they are annoying mergers that are legal because this is a legal merger. In the United States, everywhere, this is a legal merger.
Yeah. So what I want to get to is P3 Tran. I think that you asked about market harm. They don't have to prove market harm. They have to prove that they have a case. She's not going to prove the.
Okay, and they don't have a case.
Okay, we disagree on that one clearly, but I'm not.
Okay, try to convince me. Which is the case of the FTC?
The case is going to follow very similar to the CMA.
What they did different or an amplification from they did on December of 2022. They did nothing. I was watching like
because you can't get a preliminary injunction here. Now I will tell you this. Traditionally, what happens is you sue after the other regulatory bodies. Usually that, but the FTC sued back in December. However, to Microsoft as well. Microsoft, their whole strategy was to get all the regulators on their side, to make a big thing about getting all these people, make the PR push on that. Again, I've said that the vast majority of regulators that they went to are not necessarily regulators at all. They have never actually blocked anything within their countries or anything at an international level. So with that said, once the CMA happened, and they were always going to bring this case in early June to pressure the FTC for an injunction. But you cannot file a preliminary injunction until when? You cannot file the preliminary injunction until you have a pending merger before your review. That's why they couldn't do it.
Okay, so now I have some questions about this case. That you are like the FTC lawyer and I Microsoft lawyer. I have some questions. First, you think that the FTC made clear that Nintendo doesn't compete with Sony and Microsoft?
So I think they do, but I don't think that that's going to be the theory of harm that's going to hold this up.
Okay, you think that the FTC made clear that console and cloud are distinct markets?
Yes.
Okay, and you think that a multi-game subscription service is that distinct market, but the buy-to-play market?
No, I think no. I don't think. I think the FTC was going to want it. It was a double trick. You either are going to say
the economist of the FTC said that was trying that to prove that, but okay.
No, but the judge said. But I think that's because the judge was trying to clear out the definition, the actual theory of harm that she wanted. So you're either going to say your markets are subscriptions or your markets are cloud, but you're not going to say that neither of them is a market in itself. But you can definitely rule out one of them depending on how you define it. I think she decided to rule out the multi-gaming subscription services.
I don't know, but sorry, but I can't agree with you. If this
I'm not asking you to agree.
If this preliminary injunction is granted, I think that I would be dumbfounded, maybe.
No, but here's the thing. I think But I don't think that this is uncommon, right? I think that the law in this situation, the most damning pieces of evidence, right? I think all the economists had a bad day in court, right? Because they either had to prove something that's in the future, they cherry pick their data, and that's the thing with experts testimony. It's either really, really good or it's really, really bad. In this time, all the economists had very, very bad testimony. And this is
Especially
what
Lee.
well, Lee had the hardest job, though,
But
right?
you
Lee
have,
has
but
to.
you
Yeah,
have to, but
yeah.
you have to think that. Okay, that's of course it's my sensation. I haven't been in the court, but really, I feel like the judge Carly wants a lot of convincing evidences to grant this injunction.
If you
And
look
you
at
have to no wait, and you have to remind that the FTC can still continue the investigation even if the judge denies the injunction the next day, the next week.
yeah,
For me, it doesn't seem that she will grant it. This is all about maybes or weak arguments. Just maybes, that weak arguments.
I think that the FTC proved the thing I look at is what we've seen in antitrust cases before with big tech. In the most damning pieces of evidence, like I said, it's not from the economists, right? Because Lee had to think about the counterfactual, right? Lee had to create a simulation, a theory in which he has to go with what will happen in the future with the merger minus the merger. That's extremely hard. Not only does he have to predict one future, he has to predict two futures and then compare and contrast those futures. It's an extremely hard thing to do. However, the one thing he has on his side, though, is anytime you have consolidation in a market, you are going to have some competitive effects, whether that's pro or con. And I think he explained this to the best of his ability. However, Microsoft economists were just as bad, and they were dealing with the current situation today. Both economists today were very horrible. One didn't even read the agreement, one was just going on the fly, and the other one also didn't understand his data set. So
No,
again,
the first one, economist, I think that she did a good performance, a good presentation. The second one was a shame, but not just for the economist way, too for the FTC lawyer. The FTC lawyers both was talking talking from an European lawyer. That was a shame for every court. A shame. That performance were a shame. They were talking to make all these days that was only about the gotchas.
That's all they're going to do on the. But like I said, I think they cancel out each other. My biggest thing is the most damning pieces of evidence still come from when you look at antitrust, you look at monopolies, you look at big tech. Anytime you start to see language that says we are trying to crush, or not crush, but beat out a competitor, we want to take out a competitor, we don't want someone to compete. Every single time we've seen that over the last decade, it has resulted in major anti-competitive litigation. But you continue to talk. I want to bring up something else you brought up, though. You talked about the European Union as if the European Union did not find that this deal was anti-competitive. I will remind the European Union found this deal anti-competitive. They just found that the
yeah, but they are constructive. They are not like we are because of our ideology. So better than you.
But you now realize but you now realize
I am constructive. I want to promote the competition.
So,
I
but
want
you
to promote
understand.
the innovation.
Yeah, but you understand what was the thing you just said. What we said that they need to do for a preliminary injunction is identify a theory of harm. And so once again, what Microsoft has made this is an indictment on the anti-competitive natures. And if you say you do a preliminary injunction, you're killing the deal. That's actually not what the preliminary injunction is for. The preliminary injunction is to say, is there actually a case and is there anti-competitive forces at play? The fact that the CMA found this, the European Union, the one you say is the experts, they also found this, right?
And why of course, I'm not expert on this field on the USA, but why every analyst in the USA is reacting positive about all of this is
What
happening?
analysts? What analysts?
Everyone. Just look at. I can look right now, but I've been reading a lot. But you can see just the shares, the share market. Why is pumping up? Because if
Why
it's
did it drop
so
today?
easy and they
So-
made a
so-
very in a public case that is being broadcasted,
So let's look
why
at
the market is
share
able to
price.
do it?
So let's look at share price because that's going to probably be the biggest
Everyone
indicator.
likes to lose money, and
Okay,
everyone
so
looks.
if it was a done deal, if we look at share price, if it's a
It's
done
not a
deal,
done deal. But the
Okay,
problem is not
so
the
if-
FTC. The problem is in the UK
okay,
because
so
they are like pirates. But in the
well,
USA
what
they
did
don't
I
have problem.
say?
Because,
Well, but this is my thing the whole time. I think that my whole argument is not that the FTC blocks. I said this from the beginning.
the
My
FTC, of
argument,
course.
my argument is the FTC has a solid enough case to continue to push and continue to fight. If Microsoft and Activision were on the same page and really wanted to merge, they would just renegotiate. I've always said the economics of the deal is what's going to cause this deal to fall apart. Not because FTC blocks, even if she provides the preliminary injunction or if she doesn't provide it, the FTC still has a strong enough case to continue to push forward. That has been my whole thing.
Okay,
Purple.
I have a very small question. Okay, you understand that? Okay, it's fine. But I'm seeing that the FTC is out here trying to block a merger with, in my opinion, just my opinion, zero legal basis to do so. And for example, you are talking about cloud market and the FTC claiming what I say that they don't care nothing about cloud gaming, but I'm not American, but you'll know, everyone here that lives in the USA, that the FTC doesn't, the US regulators refuse to do nothing about telecommunications monopolies, and cloud gaming is non-viable for the most gamers in the USA. So there are in the USA even cases where communication giants successfully blocked free municipal broadband access to the citizen who have no broadband access because telcos don't want to rely copper or fiber. So why the antitrust in the USA? That's my question. Why in the antitrust in the USA care about this? Care about frivolous, because this is a frivolous lawsuit designed to give the illusion of a antitrust, a strong antitrust, and why they are not, or they don't have enforcement for the things that the people need to be defended. The telco abuses, because we love political. The FTC use the political. I love the politics too. So why didn't they don't use the enforcement for telco, for the electric supply that they have? The companies are scamming the users in the USA. Why in the USA someone is expending taxes in this?
So a lot of times, so for what you said there, if you look at the actual deals, when we look at telco was broken up in the 80s through antitrust, right? The 1980s was when the telecommunications were primarily broken up, and also throughout the early 2020s or the 2000s. I cannot say why that. As far as when we talk about the electric system, that's usually held at the state level, and you see quite a bit of antitrust lawsuit at the state level on both the electric grid as well as in the healthcare industries. You didn't ask about it, but that's handled at the state level. When we talk about political, and because I've heard this before about Lena Khan, and the United States is a very big political, like anything here that can be political is being turned into political. I think one of the biggest things is this case has not been brought into that political discourse, except for some very minor situations in Congress, like very minor considering how big it is. Another thing is Lena Khan actually had over 3/4 of the senators vote for her. Why did they have over 3/4 of the senators vote for her? because of her anti-big tech stance, right? So this isn't just about Microsoft. This is about Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, as much as it's about Microsoft. So that's why that you don't see necessarily this big, like this big political push, because they know what she has to do here are some of the same cases she's going to, or antitrust law is going to do to break up big tech, like a Google. So again, is it political? Yes. But in this case, they're going to push forward as far as they can on the law to see what is actually available, just because antitrust and innovation has been an area that has been lacking over the last 3 to 4 decades.
Okay, I have a real quick. I want to jump in. I have two questions. The first one is mainly for Purple, and I would like to ask you going a little bit away because you both have great. I would say you both have great opinions, and they're kind of different in the way you both think that, well, one of you think that the FTC doesn't have a strong enough case. The other one thinks that they do have a case, and that would be enough not to block the deal, but to prolong the deal, which is fair. But I would like to ask you first, Purple. Let's say the judge does decide that the FTC has no case. This is just hypothetical. Do you see a possibility that, or do you think it's possible? Because I have no knowledge of this, but maybe you do. Is there a possibility that Microsoft can close the deal, even though the CMA has blocked
Wait,
until, or is that not possible?
this is a weird thing about this case, because I don't think we've ever seen that happen, right? Like, that's what I continue to say. Like, where we've seen a company with the CMA say that what their laws currently say, a company then go over the CMA to say we are going to still buy anyway. So I think that that's an unknown, right? Because even if they did, the CMA, because of their laws, and we saw this with Meta and Giphy, the CMA's laws can't allow them to break up the company. And because the actual agreement says that they specifically name the CMA as one of the regulatory bodies that they need to have approval from. Again, it would require, I continue to say, either a renegotiation of the contract to at least to change that stipulation or so forth. I think this has been a theory that's been thrown out by an investment firm to say that they could do this. But again, I think the theory and the action is very different. So could the Microsoft do it? Maybe. But is it likely? Again, I don't know. I think this whole play to get the FTC to try to win this, to get the FTC to block down right now, is not so much a play to close the deal at this very moment. It's a play to get the Activision Blizzard board to go along and extend the deal, because I think that is the biggest thing right now that's running up on that July 18th deadline.
Adding a question on top of this one. This is actually not my second question, but it just came to mind. Let's say they don't go 100% the FTC way, but it goes enough where maybe it gets prolonged a few months. Do you think if it doesn't go like very far, if it just goes a few months, do you think Microsoft and Activision will be more willing to negotiate, being that it only is going to be a few more months? Or do you think, even if it's just 2 months, do you think this just falls apart?
I continue to say, like, my biggest, like, and I say it in my videos where I talk about this, the thing that would make me start to switch my stance on whether or not the deal is going to go through or not is if I see a renegotiation of the deal. Because that to me signals something. And at this moment, and what I think is the biggest sticking point at this moment, is if the board is really looking after their shareholders, Activision Blizzard is worth more than $95 a share at this current. If we're looking at a acquisition, even though their current price is saying $83 a share or 84, whatever it is at the moment, probably most analysts put their fair market value somewhere around the value of $75 to $80. With Diablo doing really well, we are actually going to put it closer to 80 than 75. So traditionally, if you look at the premium that Microsoft paid for Activision Blizzard back in the January 2022, they paid around a 40%, 45% premium for Activision Blizzard. If you just put that at 30%, not even 40%, this means the deal is closer to around $105 to $110 a share. So I would need to see something in this role to renegotiate. But if I see the renegotiation, sure. I just haven't seen any movement in that way. So to answer your question, do I think they could? Sure. Like, I think that's what the judge would tell them to do. Go renegotiate so you're not running out on, and then you can litigate a little bit more and make it a 24-month deal versus an 18. That's not uncommon. So could they?
I think so. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think today in court, Bobby Kotick said that if you get granted the preliminary injunction, that the Activision board will walk away from the deal. So I think this is all or nothing play for them.
But is that even, Plume, to your point? Like right now, is that even a bluff? You know, like there's so many things here. But I continue to say what I want to see is, to me, that's the most important thing in this deal is you need to either renegotiate it to allow, because if Microsoft were to close the deal, because the agreement actually specifically states the CMA, and this is why I've always said I don't trust Bobby Kotick in this situation. There were too many things in that agreement that lean towards Bobby Kotick giving him to, or lean towards Activision having too much control at the end of the day. And so if they're able to renegotiate, I don't care what is it, like renegotiate the timeline, renegotiate the what needs to be proven. But if Microsoft were to close and the agreement in the deal was not met fully, Activision shareholders can actually sue. So like you run a very big risk to try to close without a renegotiation. So I think it behooves them to renegotiate.
All right. Here's my last question, which again, I don't have much knowledge about law, even though it's ironically my wife's a lawyer, my mom's a lawyer, and yeah, I don't have much knowledge of this. But to my understanding, I thought that the main I would say the main not reason, like the main function of a regulator is to protect the consumer. So my question is, like, how come, like, the FTC, like, from what I've been hearing, they're all making it more about like how could this affect like the market leader, which is in this case is Sony, rather than why they don't. I don't see them talk about how this could affect the consumer, which in my opinion should be like the top priority.
So the FTC is tasked with a couple of different things. Primarily, they're tasked with the inertia of deals, inertia of capitalism, to make sure that capitalism doesn't run rampant. This is actually the purpose of regulators and antitrust for monopolies, because capitalism inherently will create a monopoly. It's just a part of capitalism. So when we talk about why are they not talking about the consumer, that's actually a certain school of thought in antitrust law. But if you look at the actual remit of the FTC, it's not just consumer, it's not just fair business practice, but it's also innovation. And so any of those different pillars, they can then go pursue a legal case against. So in this one, why can they not talk about the consumer? Because at the moment, this deal doesn't, I think today it proved in Bobby Kotick's, once again, I don't trust Bobby Kotick. I think we may disagree.
Sorry to jump in real quick, but when you say innovation, do you then see that this acquisition would prevent innovation in a way, or what's your perspective on that?
It could. And that's what the judge has to decide, right? Like the judge has to go through a whole series of hypotheticals and see what is the potential that it could hurt innovation. right? Like the worst case scenario is, Microsoft gets Activision Blizzard, people move to Microsoft, it forecloses Sony, forecloses things in the cloud market, whether or not you agree with that or something. That's the worst case scenario. And now there's lack of innovation there. So that's just one like very hyperbole of an example. But that's what innovation, when you're looking at innovation, you're usually looking at nascent markets as the law has been applied previously.
Interesting.
In this regard, the laws obviously could be used differently to look at consumers and prices. And I think that's why the Chicago School of Thought, right, Chicago Business School, their school of thought would say, only look at consumers, only look at prices. And that's a political debate, right, currently in antitrust circles and in business circles. Is it just about consumers, or is it about the marketplace? And this is kind of what's being leveraged against Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Well, yes, if we just looked at prices, Google's free, Amazon lowers prices, Facebook's free. But if we look at other areas, we actually see that it is more that it's not necessarily free from a monetary sense.
All right. Well, okay, not to. I think you did answer this, but I got a chat question if you don't mind. Dusty asks to ask you if what did the FTC prove was the theory of harm to the market? Did you? I believe you did mention it, or no?
But they don't have to prove. That's the thing. That's
Okay,
not
yeah,
this court
I
case.
remember
Like
now.
that, the court case is, do they have a case, which is different than actually
Yeah.
proving.
They don't have a
thing.
case.
Yeah,
That's the
which is what ecstasy would say. But again, I continue to say that if you're trying to say that there's an anti-competitive nature to the deal, you have not only the CMA, but you have the EU also said there is an anti-competitive nature to this deal. And so that is theoretically what the FTC has to prove. Is there a case to say that there's anti-competitive nature to the deal? Not the extent to the anti-competitive nature. That would happen later on in another trial. But if you already have several regulators already saying there's anti-competitive natures to the deal, to say they don't have a case, I'm like, okay, then I don't know what else you're looking for.
I actually, sorry, I actually got another question that came to mind.
Oh, I was muted. I was muted. I was gonna say something. I was gonna say something about the regulators.
Ye-
Sorry, guys.
Oh,
Can I jump in real
go
quick?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go
But
ahead.
here's the thing, though, Purple. I mean, how many regulators are around the world? And like, I'll give you an example. Right, this is a big example. Now, let's say, right, half and half were in this discussion. Half said no, half said yes. Then, of course, I'll be like, okay, I agree with what is going on with everything, right? But pretty much, you have, I don't know what the percentage is. I think it's like 90% or 95% of the regulators saying yes. And then you got this 5%, which is UK, CMA, New Zealand said no, right? These days, didn't they say no these
New
days?
Zealand is hasn't said anything.
They
Has
haven't
said
said
anything?
they're going to say it on the 17th.
Okay,
They're
okay.
gonna wait. Yeah.
They're gonna wait. Okay, okay. But anyways, you had these two regulators saying no, while the majority said yes. So what it's in my mind is, okay, everybody's agreeing. I understand what you said about how Microsoft got all the regulators to their side. It's like a big PR stunt. It's a big push in order for them to buy. But couldn't we say, to be honest though, could we say that FTC and CMA could be wrong on some facts on what they're putting on the plate?
Well, this is why I continue to say, tell me when Brazil's regulators blocked a deal. Tell me when Saudi Arabia's regulators blocked a deal. Tell
Okay.
me when Japan's regulators. Tell me when China's regulators. Tell me when South Africa's regulators. Tell me when these regulators actually blocked a deal. And what you're going to find is, what is antitrust law based upon?
Okay.
In each locale, it's based upon whatever they have, their constitution, their declaration, or what. That's the law of there. So that's why I brought up very early the group of countries I said that share the basic foundations of law, right? That's Canada, that's the US, that's the UK, that's New Zealand, that's Australia, right? And they share it on multiple things. They share it on like the rules of warfare. They share it on international trade. They share it on multiple things. When you start bringing in Brazil, that's not the same, right? What are you talking with Brazil? You're talking about a socialist country, right? What do you talk about with South Africa? What do you talk about Saudi Arabia? These are not the same. Like, these are not like for like. But what I know from just historically, this is what you do. You could also say, how did these regulators come to a decision so fast? Right? Did they actually do their due diligence? So when you start to add up the fact that these are not normally the regulators that are going to block something, you actually look at the fact that how much budget is actually put towards the regulation in these countries and what have they actually regulated?
But I still talking. Sorry for the interruption, but okay, we understand that the important regulator is the USA and the other ones because they were going to approve. Okay, I understand that, but I don't have my question solved. The FTC for sure can convince anyone or the judge that Xbox even would make ABK games exclusive. No, they did not. What they do have to do, they have to establish that the exclusivity will have even a small effect on overall competition, not just Sony. And I understand why they are fighting against Nintendo, because they want or they need to prove a small effect on the competition. So they are showing weaknesses. They are showing that for months. And for sure, talking about the practical, what happened these days, for sure, they don't have any strategy to prove the harm to the overall competition with the exclusivity. So that's why I can't understand which is the case of the FTC. I understand that the walls to get the preliminary injunction are
Lower.
Lower, yeah. But they will need to prove something, just something.
So you had three markets. Right? I've told you. Do I think console? I've made a video.
Exclusivity on cloud, exclusivity
on cloud is a big one, and that's why the Stadia person came on. That's actually also why the Nvidia.
And I have but okay, so just answer me a question about this.
Okay.
Microsoft have an agreement with Nvidia and other cloud providers with a free license agreement of the ABK and Xbox content to these providers. Just ask me why. If the FTC say that these agreements are not legal, are not relevant, are not relevant in the legal way, why they ask about an oath with the content going to the cloud service, specifically of Sony? Why? I just want to know why. If they
were trying to establish that he cannot promise that. He cannot promise something in the future like that as an oath, right? Because he cannot sign.
If they can promise, why they have a free license agreement in the European Union that can apply worldwide?
It's the European Union. It has to do. When you're talking about that, when you're talking about behavioral remedy versus a structural remedy, you're now getting into how that is a philosophical debate on what someone will take, right? Yeah. And we know the EU is willing to take behavioral remedies. The CMA wants structural remedies. In the United States, it's up for debate depending on what industry you're part of. And so, when we talk about these agreements, right? One of the reasons the FTC initially from the first day said we cannot look at these, this should not be allowed into the courtroom, is because Microsoft did not provide the agreements to them. So so that's why they couldn't. That's why you didn't necessarily see it, because they couldn't provide.
That agreements are public.
You've seen the Nvidia agreement.
No, in the European Commission webpage are uploaded the agreements with a free license, because this is a free license that anyone can go for that.
That part is the actual agreement. The small
But
tiny
if
print
I'm
of
an
the agreement.
interested part, I can sue if they don't respect that agreement, and you don't need to
Yeah.
track that.
So
I'm
let me give
Sony.
you an
I go to approach that agreement. If
Let
they
me give
don't
you
respect the agreement, I sue because they are harming my interests.
Let me give you
I
an
don't need a
example.
regulator.
Let me give you an example how the courts look at agreements right now, particularly when it comes to big tech. All right. At one time, Google, we're going to use Google, provided agreements on privacy, agreements on advertisement to many of the same people who use their service. But now what have we seen? Despite the fact that they signed agreements, despite the fact that they said if we do this, you can sue us, despite all that, they are willing to take penalties, which are now averaging in the multi-billion dollars every year because they are breaking those agreements. And so what regulators are looking at is if we allow, and this is why the CMA takes the approach they do, if we allow the deal to go through, it's much harder to break you up. However, during that time, because you are so big, and if you are able to foreclose it, if you are able to foreclose and cause harm, how do you calculate the harm that you've done in the marketplace? It's almost businesses go out of
Microsoft in their internal plans. They were talking about they have a commitment that ABK will remain independent. So they won't have problem
So-
if they have a case, a very good deep case, they can make break the merger after that.
Yeah,
So,
but once again, the companies are going to always have, if they can prove it from a business case, and they can say this is our fiduciary duty to shareholders, they do not have to come through with their agreements. Here's a great example of a big tech company that promised a state in the United States what they were going to do, and then we look and they haven't done that. Amazon headquarters 2.0, when Amazon was looking for their second headquarters, they promised 25,000 jobs outside of DC. They said, if we're going to bring 25,000 jobs within 3 years, and with that, we're also going to, if you can give us $700 million tax break. Guess what? They never came through on that, yet they still got the tax break. Agreements when it comes to behavioral remedies have been there's quite a bit of evidence that they don't prevent foreclosure from large parts. That's why they're taking the stance that they're taking. They're saying that it's not effective. But I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just want to make that clear.
Real quick, I want to ask.
Can I jump in real quick? Say
Yeah,
something, because here's why we like a bunch of us, we're seeing like the case of the FTC is kind of weak, right? I'll give you an example. Let's say this Friday, right? I tuned in for a bit. I could listen for a bit. I don't know how I did, but I tuned in for a bit. And what I was listening to is the FTC lawyer asking about what happened with ZeniMax, what happened with all these games, and what they were trying to pull right there is to show the judge, right, that Microsoft in the future or right now after the Activision deal goes through, they're gonna make Call of Duty exclusive, right? And that's what I was hearing, that's what I was listening to, that spot of the FTC, asking Phil Spencer, right? Phil Spencer was on Friday, right? They were literally, he was asking that same question. I don't know how many times he asked that question in different forms, of course, but it was basically the same question, or are you going to do this? How many times did you talk to Cinemax about exclusivity? How many times you had this? How many times you had that? And Phil basically said, we have had like multiple conversations. We have had 100 conversations. We have 1,000 conversations. We have had a bunch of conversations, right, about this whole thing about Cinemax. And they also talked about Minecraft Dungeons. I think Grounded was also mentioned. A whole bunch of games was also mentioned. And what Ecstasy was saying earlier, like he's saying, like they're pretty much defending Sony and saying Sony this, Sony that, is because like these guys really are just talking about trying to show like how Xbox is just going to make this thing exclusive. So that was like the first part of the case, right? And that's something that I saw and noticed, and I was like, man, why are they asking about this if this is about the ABK deal? I mean, they shouldn't bring this up here But okay, I understand their point. They're trying to prove that Microsoft is going to block Call of Duty or it's going to block something in the near future, not let these games come out there. But the thing is, Microsoft is giving pretty much everyone, like what Ecstasy was saying, they're giving much everyone the license, like, hey, you want to jump in here? You can jump in here. Let's negotiate. Let's talk. I mean, they even tried to sit down and negotiate with PlayStation. And even Bobby Kotick email popped up too. Not Bobby Kotick. I mean Jim Ryan email popped up too. Like he's saying, "Oh, we'll be fine if this deal goes through." And it's insane that pretty much what I've been seeing is that these guys, the FTC, basically are trying to to grab and protect a company, because this is how I'm seeing it. I'm telling you my point of view.
That's
I'm
true.
seeing it like they're trying like to protect a company. They're not trying to like say, okay, let's talk about consumers. And the point where Ecstasy was going about consumers, they have not mentioned consumers yet. You mentioned the 3 points of harm. I get your 3 points of harm. But basically us as consumers, what we see is, are we going to get benefited by this? In a way, yes, we will. And I understand that this will affect other companies. How will it affect other companies? The thing is, what I'm seeing, Microsoft is taking a large step for something for the future. Yet these other companies, example, Sony, which right now, not even, when was it, 2 months ago, a month ago, Sony actually talked about cloud gaming, didn't they? They were talking about they were going to jump into cloud, that it's going to take them a while. And they're starting to jump into this right now. Literally, they literally are thinking to jumping into this right now. But yet Microsoft is taking a big step. And what I'm seeing is these guys are trying to block this company from making this big step, while you have other companies in the world, example, Tencent, right? Tencent is dominating. I mean, right now, if you look at the numbers, Tencent is number one, Sony is number two. If you look at the numbers, Tencent is number one. It's insane. They're not even a console, nothing. They're just cloud, basically.
So, so a couple of different things. I think Tencent is going to continue to have issues to expand for the same
Oh,
reasons you're talking about, right?
yeah.
So like if to bring in Tencent, like they are having their own issues. They are not getting new licensing deals even within China at the moment.
Okay.
So we could talk about that. As far as like when we talk about the marketplace, there's like obviously something. How do you protect competition and not protect competitors? These are intricately connected, right? And so and that is kind of, you can't like bifurcate those two efforts. And so when you think about, I continue to say, when it comes to the console, you've never hear me talk about Sony. Like
Right.
that is not the angle I take. I
Right.
don't talk about Sony. Like if for everybody, like I don't know how many times I have to tell y'all I play Xbox. Like, oh, this is what I stream from.
Oh, no, no,
Like this,
I see,
you
I see
know.
that. No, but I'm
But
just
I want to
saying.
get. But I want to get. I want
I'm
to get
saying
to.
I'm talking about the FTC. Those are the guys that basically have been. I mean, even under oath, he told Phil, FTC told Phil, "Do you swear that you're going to
He
take?"
was trying to catch him in something. That's
Yeah,
why
I know.
and ultimately Phil stopped, and that's when she said, "You don't have to answer that," because
All right.
he that's what he was trying to do, was catch Phil in basically promising something he couldn't promise. That it was, and so she said, "You don't need to do that. I don't want to see," because the entire time when Phil first said, "I solemnly swear that I will put this on," that was actually the Xbox. That was Beth Wilkerson. That was her cross examination.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at that point, that's when the FTC came back to it. But when he first did that, that was not the FTC making that, because that was just a show, right? That was not necessary. And I think Phil Spencer, to be very frank, I think this entire time, Phil Spencer has been doing a good job being a CEO of a gaming company, talking to gamers. But as far as when we talk about what the actual court case was looking at, right? I don't think there was that. I don't think there was a strong enough. I'll say it like this. I think the FTC did a good enough job. I'm not saying they dominated. I'm not saying they blasted it out the water. I'm saying they did a good enough job that they can continue to pursue litigation against this deal. And I continue to say, because of that, and it, with barring or absent a renegotiation, I just don't see the deal going through. I think people mistake me for saying the FTC will win this long term. That's not what I say. What I continue to say is what I need to see from Microsoft and Activision Blizzard to say that they are very serious about taking on the FTC and the regulators is I need to see a renegotiation of the deal to drop the CMA so they can go ahead and purchase without the CMA's approval. And I need them to also say, hey, we're going to extend this to let you do your little dog and pony show or whatever you want to do in your administrative law court. And then we're going to take you to the federal appellate court. I need to see something to that effect. Barring that, I have to think that one of these parties does not want to close this deal. And that's actually
Yeah,
the very first I liked it.
But the judge has to be convinced by something, and she doesn't seem convinced by the market
She never-
definition.
Go ahead.
She don't look convinced that the, I don't know how to say, it's like that this transaction will result in an unfair advantage for Microsoft in these definite markets. Unfair meaning that the transaction gives Microsoft an edge in competition, and their competition are incapable to counter with other means. And
go ahead.
Do you think, Andy, do you think that the FTC have proved unless that this transaction make an unfair advantage, and that advantage is imminent and can't be reminded? Because that's the third point for the preliminary injunction.
Yeah, I think the third point is the easiest one.
Advantage, unfair, imminent, and can't be reminded.
Yeah, no, I think the third point's the easiest for them to win because usually the FTC wins on the third point. It's a lot harder, especially before a deal closes. It's a lot harder to unblock a deal than it is to unwind a deal versus private parties to renegotiate the deal that they negotiated. The third point will almost always go to the FTC or to the Judicial Justice Department, who's ever asking for the preliminary injunction.
But they don't have to prove the irreparable harm and imminent harm right now.
They've already, in order to get imminent harm, that's the balance of equities, right? What they have to say is, if you allow the deal to go through, right?
But which is the imminent harm?
The imminent harm is if they close the deal.
And why is a harm to close the deal? Because the preliminary injunction is intended to do nothing more than stop Microsoft from closing, but the FTC can continue to sue and try to stop this.
Right,
so
but
which is the imminent harm?
Because the imminent harm is if they allow the deal to close, it's harder for them to unwind. That's on that. So that's okay. If they allow. Okay. If they don't allow, if they don't allow the deal, saying they have the injunction, right? The harm is between the two parties. It's the parties. What's different between July 18th and June 18th? July 18th and August 18th. Now, if you're going to say now long term, you used earlier 4 years. Yes, there's imminent harm there. But when you're saying the difference between 18 and 24 months, which is when you renegotiate the deal, what is the harm there? What is the two parties between Activision and Microsoft? Why can't they do that? Why can't they renegotiate the deal that they negotiated to begin with?
Because probably I will have to pay more money. Easy. Much more money.
But that is the deal that you all negotiated.
And we are losing money because we are wasting time in a thing that is not going anywhere. Because if the irreparable harm is just close the deal, so
I'm just telling you, like that's a very easy. You could look at multiple court cases to see this.
You have
balance of equities.
But okay, let's try to go deep. The third point that we were talking about, that's the irreparable harm to the competition, not to the FTC. So, okay, the harm is to close the deal, but closing the deal, who am I harming immediately and irreparable way? Who I am harming? Who is
I-
Microsoft?
If the deal closes, if the deal
Yeah.
closes,
If the deal closes,
then you're the regulating body that Congress has bestowed upon them to investigate these things. You have harmed their ability to do their job. That is
because they can continue suing.
no, they can't. If you allow them to close the deal, they now
Yeah,
no
yeah.
longer have. They now have to unwind the deal, and potentially by unwinding the deal, you have now. If that is the case that you have to unwind, you have now done harm because that when they already come together.
You are trying to tell me that the irreparable harm is to the FTC?
If the deal closes,
Yeah. I'm just asking.
yes, no. This is the balance of equity.
What?
The balance of equities. The balance of equities. Let's just make it very clear. The balance of equities is this: who suffers more harm? Who suffers more harm? It does the parties suffer more harm if a preliminary injunction is given versus the FTC suffering harm if the preliminary injunction is not
But
given.
the FTC is not a party involved in the competition of the video game. So
That's why it's a
am
balance
I
of equities.
harming? Yeah, but
I think
independent.
they get plenty of money to do their job. God forbid we make it a little bit difficult for them here and there. Like, I get that maybe it's not the most convenient thing for them to have to deal with this or whatever, but you get paid. It's just like I do a job outside of this. I get paid to do the job.
You've
I
hurt
do
their
the job.
ability to. You've hurt. So I think we need to understand who the FTC actually is and who they aren't. The FTC is a law regulating body.
But
okay.
Yeah,
how
but
is it
the
hurting them in this situation?
regulation body is not part of the market.
No, you've hurt their
don't
ability to do their job. That's what you've done. Go ahead.
Yeah, but they can start. They can continue suing in their administrative law judge. That clown circus that is their administrative law judge, because the decision of the Michael Chappell judge is a recommendation, and then they can vote, and they can wait like 30 months. That's a clown circus.
So you can make. That's the whole point. But that's the whole point. Like what I continue to say is this: when you look at
the harm to the FTC is that they can continue with their clown circus that is their administrative job.
Eventually they cannot get a preliminary injunction if they cannot prove their case. What I am saying though is, and I want you all me to make it very clear, this deal from the very beginning has been very different than almost any deal before it. You have the largest tech deal that was negotiated in roughly 6 weeks.
But these don't care about the size.
The
problem is not the size. I am asking about the harm to.
I try to explain. I cannot explain it any more to you than this. It's a law regulating body. Okay, if they merge the deal, it is harder to break up a company, a la Google. Perfect example. If we look at Google, Google's almost impossible to break up now. Even though if we could go back in time, we would have said DoubleClick, Google, you cannot buy DoubleClick. That is a fact.
But
so then,
I have a commitment that IBK remains independent, and we could break up that merger easily because we can sell ABK if we have a law order to sell ABK. I don't understand which is the irreparable harm.
But where's the irreparable? What's the irreparable? See, here's the thing, though.
Okay. I buy your point. Okay, but in the second point, the FTC has to convince the judge that the transaction will result in an unfair advantage for Microsoft in these defined markets.
Why they
have an unfair advantage in one of the three? Which argument made the FTC to prove that they can have that unfair advantage?
Cloud.
But which is the harm? Or the unfair advantage?
So
which is they prove that they gave them numbers. They get what?
So what did they prove in the cloud market? They proved the definition of cloud based upon brown shoes. We agree on that. All right. So then the second one. Okay. What do they have a case? And their case is very.
They have to prove an unfair advantage. Which is the unfair advantage of
They
Microsoft
have
in the
to
cloud market?
prove that they can win the case on its merits. The merits
Yeah,
of the
but
case.
which is the that's what I'm asking for. Which is the case? Okay, cloud is a separate market.
Okay.
Why do you have that unfair advantage in
Because
that
you own
separate
the
market?
entire vertical. Today, let me give you an example right now.
The argument is this is vertical, Microsoft is too big, and big tech is bad. Just that.
No,
Google is very bad, so we go against
because
everyone.
content, because it's in Microsoft's own words, right? If you look at it, and NVIDIA said it as well, Stadia said it as well. In whether it's an early market for console, whether it's the early market for cloud, whether it's early market for VR, whatever, content is extremely important for a market, for any new entrant into that market to have any advantage, to have any chance of winning. So Microsoft said it. Microsoft said, there's only two companies that can compete against us in content: PlayStation and Nintendo. The only two that can compete against us in content. However, neither of those companies have their own cloud. Microsoft's the only one with their own cloud. And on top of that, if we look at Friday, what the Stadia person said, and NVIDIA proved it as well today, is actually to run a cloud service, it's very expensive. You either need to have your own operating system, or you have to go you have to have an operating system licensed out to you. When it comes to cloud,
but we have to make the clear. We have to clarify that NVIDIA agrees this transaction and is in favor of this transaction.
But why did NVIDIA agree to the transaction though?
Oh, guys,
because we have an agreement and we have a constructive way to not harm our competition. We are constructive.
Can I jump in real quick, because Silent's been trying to say something for a while? Silent,
Go
for it, brother.
No, I just want to ask a question, because I'm curious, honestly. Like, in this situation, we've seen obviously that, like, the opinion is we don't want Microsoft to do this. This has been the big thing, right? My concern is, like, putting this into play and blocking this makes a really messed up precedent in the future, because what we're saying is these people who have invested, who are working on investing and trying to actually make this ecosystem, we don't want to allow them to do this, even though they're pioneers on that side of things. So are we going to say that if Sony or Nintendo or someone else comes along in like a year or two, that we're going to hold them to the exact same standards that we have Microsoft held to right now? Because it feels like it's focused very heavily against Microsoft as bad. We need to stop them from innovating.
I think they're looking at the consolidation in the market. I would hope that let me not say I would hope. I believe if Sony were to go, let's say that, and I continue to, you have to understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying the FTC is going to block. I'm saying, barring a renegotiation, the deal falls apart. That's what I'm saying. But I would say this. Go ahead. Oh.
No, okay. I was.
Okay, got you. I got you saying. So what I would say is that if Sony were to go out and buy Square Enix, let's say for whatever the deal falls through, Sony goes by Square Enix, I would totally expect the regulators to step into this market to then prevent that transaction from going.
But we have proofs to the judge that no content around the world is crucial or is a unicorn. With Liz Bailey.
They asked the economist today straight up. They asked the economist.
She has a market analysis that she proved that Steam grew without Call of Duty. Started to grow without Call of Duty. Nintendo started to grow without Call of Duty.
Yes,
so
but
I can't understand who is Microsoft harming.
No, it's not just Call of Duty though. And that's what the entire analysis today was with the economists. They said, how can you prove what a unicorn is when you didn't look at anybody but Sony? Right? Then the second economist, when they brought him up, they said, hey, have you looked at what is NVIDIA, what is kept going on the marketing? And the economists kept saying, no, I did not look at that. I did not look at that. I did not look at it. That was like literally one of the last pieces of testimony that was presented. And so I don't think any economist had a good day in court at all. Like they have to they all were cherry picking, or they all were not looking at a piece of data, or they had a very impossible task to try to quantify something that isn't quantifiable. But when you'll continue to ask me, what did the FTC prove? I continue to say they proved the same thing that the regulators in the EU, because y'all want to talk about that, in the CMA, and the same ones that potentially happened in New Zealand, in Australia.
What are you trying to tell me is, in the way that benefit the FTC, okay, whatever the other regulator says is okay. In the way that doesn't benefit to the FTC, the international regulators don't care. They don't care. That's
Say that again. Say it again.
Because the European Union agrees that there is a cloud market. The European Union is important or not? Because in the things that you don't agree, or the FTC don't agree with European Union, the European Union is not relevant. Brazil is not relevant.
But we're going to let's go with the EU. Let's go with the. We don't even know what the Brazil. We didn't
the agreements with the EU.
Let's look at what is this looking at? This is saying, do you have the merits? Does your case have merits? When I say look at the EU, that's what this case is on. Now, if you want to say like Microsoft renegotiates the deal for 12 months and then they go up, you can totally argue.
In the equity of that we were talking about, are you really trying to say that it's more harm to the FTC that is not part of the market, the harm of continue with their sue, or Microsoft to lose a huge bunch of money?
No, but that's the thing. Microsoft and Activision Blizzard can renegotiate. This is on them.
Yeah, we can't, but we are losing money because probably.
But you could. That's the whole. You put the stipulation. Microsoft and Activision Blizzard put the stipulations.
So in this way, you can renegotiate. You can renegotiate, and we are in this way that the FTC.
No, eventually, no. Like I said, continue. Go look at it.
That's why the FTC right now in the legal community is a clown circus, because they don't have any arguments.
I think it depends on which.
They just trying to make the enterprises lost the time and lost money. No,
I want to jump in real quick.
Arguments.
You have to renegotiate because you have to renegotiate. Just that. No problem to renegotiate. But the FTC, poor FTC, that they can, they have to sue. They are suing. Continue. You have a very transparent, a very good process with the administrative law judge and it's strange that an administrative law judge talk and it's just that.
Real quick.
Recommendation. Go.
When you say that they use the same argument that the CMA and also the EU, what comes to mind to me is like the EU did find that there was actually harm in the cloud, but however, they did negotiate like remedies that they thought with those remedies that would be sufficient to not harm the industry. Then on the CMA side, they didn't even give Microsoft a chance to basically
No, they did. That's the thing. They did. See, you're right. They both found harm, but the CMA in their remedies proposal said, you do these 3 things or come up with an alternative for us. And they have it in their law why they look at structural, why they look at behavioral. That's in their law. That's in their guidelines. Don't ask me why. They said either get rid of. Go ahead, Louis.
So you're talking about behavioral, but the behavioral that FTC has been giving all since the beginning is saying no and no and no and no. They have not sat down and talked to Microsoft. They have not sat down and say, hey, let's talk about this, let's do this, let's do that. Nothing. They've just been saying no.
Microsoft.
saying
and that's something that I'm
saying no to an American,
yes,
saying no to an
that's
American company.
this is why like for example what Axis is trying to say, and all of us, have been noticing is that the FTC basically has not sat down with Microsoft. Microsoft been saying, "Hey, let's sit down, let's talk." They said, "No, no, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't." And all of a sudden, they come up with this preliminary injunction, right? They say, "Okay, let's block this right now. We don't want this to go through because, hey, like what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Microsoft was saying, "Hey, we're looking for a way to close the deal." So yeah, okay, they came around, blocked this thing. They came around, blocked this thing right now, and yet they still have not sat down with Microsoft to talk
So
about it. Yet
here's
they went to court right away, and
no.
this is something that I'm seeing though. They went to court right away, and basically what they're doing is they're not they don't have like what Lex has been saying. They don't have a case. They've been just throwing
So this is
balls
what
out
you'll
there,
continue to say. We don't know what the judge says. XCC
Okay,
says he doesn't believe the judge said. No one knows what the judge says.
all
No
right,
one knows what the judge is looking at, right?
okay.
So y'all have noticed I have not said, like, to me, I think I continue to say that they have proven enough to continue this to go on.
Examples?
I continue to tell you the example in the cloud market on innovation. I don't know how many more times I can say. It's this exact
A
same
market that
argument.
is less than 1% of the
It doesn't
entire market of
matter.
trading.
It
Okay.
doesn't like okay. They've all said the same thing. New Zealand, Australia,
So
EU, and CMA have all said the same thing,
But
that there's
why
harm in this
now the
market.
other regulators are important? And no are important the regulators that approve or the regulators that have agreements?
Because I can tell you
Constructive way.
because those are
I try to think in the constructive way, not in a destructive way. The FTC just try destruction.
I don't know. All I can tell you is like when you look at the international law, there's a group of countries that has the foundations of their laws that are similar. Those groups of countries are coming or have come to the same conclusion on this deal. When you look at the other regulators, I cannot tell you. I do not know Brazil's regulation system. But what I do know is that when it comes to international law, Brazil is not one of those countries that we look at to say, like, yes, let's share this law, right?
And
The
Europe?
same with South. I already told you, European Union has already found a theory of harm in the deal. The difference is that they
But
took
we
a
try to offer remedies to.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the other thing when y'all talk about what Microsoft has done. One of the
And
things
the
that
FTC never took the
one of
phone
the
to
things
Microsoft to try
let me
to
take this.
agree some
One of the
remedies.
things is y'all continue to take Microsoft's speaking points as gospel. All right, one of the closest. No, hold on. Hold on. Let me
Hold on, Louis.
Let me come back.
A purple spit.
What happened?
Louis, hit the hammer.
What happened in January? January 5th. January 5th, right?
Yeah.
January 5th, there was a hearing between Microsoft and the FTC in which they said, hey, let's talk about, because that was when the lawsuit was first filed. At that time, both parties said, we are not talking to each other right now. That was back in January.
But that meeting just was for the case management.
Yes, but at the same time, the FTC said, hey, we're open for Microsoft to come talk to us. However,
but that's a lie. They are not open. They don't take the phone. That was told by Brad Smith.
That's what Brad Smith said, and Brad Smith said that in the summer. So Brad Smith approached them in the summer last year.
I have to trust Lina Khan. That is obviously
no. I'm not telling you to trust Lina Khan. I'm just telling you that what happened in January, that they both said that they weren't talking to each other. But I will say that Microsoft's entire strategy this entire time.
And why decided to block so soon?
That you could make an argument on that. I'm not saying there's not an argument on that. I'm just telling you on what happened and what Microsoft, with their entire strategy, their legal strategy was entirely based upon getting all the regulators, including the CMA, to agree to the deal. And then no matter what, and they said this back in February, that they were going to probably pursue the deal in early June to force an injunction to force the FTC to come to court. So they still went through that, but the biggest difference right now is both the CMA blocked the deal, but also the EU came out and said that there was anti-competitive effects in the market. That was what in February both of those said. that threw a wrench into the timing of everything, into their strategy of everything. That's all I'm saying. Now y'all continue to like as if I'm trying to represent the FTC.
No,
No, no, no,
we're
no,
not
no,
trying to
no,
do
no,
that.
no, 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 no. This
No.
is here's what we're seeing, right? Because I said this before. I'm one of those guys that I'm happy to see both sides of the deal. You know, because basically we see a lot of positives. It's always good to see the other side of the deal, right? Because a lot of people like always talk like, oh yeah, Microsoft is going through this, and you know, like for example, today I have learned a lot of stuff on the arguments you've been saying, right? So because this debate, you know, of today, it's basically like for me, it's been a great knowledge thing because I'm gonna tell you something. I'm just read what I see. I give my opinion, and looking at you both talking, like for example, you're
Yeah.
saying how the FTC has proven a point and X has proven a point. I mean, Microsoft proven a point. You know, you guys debating this is something for all of us to learn. You know,
That's right.
this is an interesting conversation. You know, I'm really happy to listen to both sides because like I said, all I see is a lot of positives, you know, and when I hear about the negatives, right, it's usually from people who just want to trash talk, right? They just want to trash talk, throw the thing under the bus, say, you know, Microsoft sucks, you know, they lost, they this and that. And you trying to bring your point, I basically, you know, trying to understand is that you're saying since you got these three consoles, right? You got Sony, you got Nintendo, you got Microsoft. Microsoft is the one that's basically more advanced on cloud technology. Does this give them an advantage? Yes. If the deal goes through, yes, it does give them a big, huge advantage. These guys do because Nintendo has not yet, you know, defined itself, you know, with the cloud. PlayStation is
But
working on it right now. But here's the thing, though, Purple.
someone
What's up?
someone is going to break that bubble, though. That's
Yeah.
someone's going to break that bubble. Someone's
Yeah.
going to innovate. So what? Are we going to
Yeah.
So
punish someone who
no.
chooses to innovate in
So
that
I
Yeah.
would
space?
say it's not when you look at the cloud, you have to look at all the cloud service providers, right?
Yeah.
And you have to, and so that's not really just Boosteroid and NVIDIA, right? You're also looking at Luna. You're looking at whatever Sony has. You're looking at whatever Nintendo has. You're also looking at what Ubisoft has. You're looking at all of those cloud providers, right? You're looking at Ubitus. You're looking at Blacknut. You're looking at all of them.
But why the FTC are not talking about any competitor?
The FTC did bring up Ubitus. They brought that up today. They did bring up Amazon Luna. They brought that up today. They brought that up yesterday. They brought that up on Friday. They did talk about Stadia. Obviously, they brought them in. They did talk about
Stadia is not in the market right now, so
no, but they did talk about that's how they formed the basis with Brown Shoes on what competition was with Nadala.
I
That's
think
what
that
they did.
Quick,
I try to understand your point, but I can't know understanding your point why the FTC didn't with Linacan didn't obtain any preliminary injunction.
Because they couldn't offer, they cannot go for a preliminary injection unless the deal
Because
is imminent.
with your argument, sure, I think
Unless
they
it's
could have any preliminary injunction they made.
no, you have when you go for a preliminary injunction, you have to show it.
They lose always. Okay, I don't
Okay, if you're
understand. Sure.
gonna, do you want me to explain it or not?
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
go for it.
Okay, when you go for a preliminary injection, you have to prove that there's an imminent closing of a deal. Microsoft did not show that. Microsoft told us in January and February we're not going to close
And
until the regulatory.
Illumina Grail was going to close too.
Guys, can I jump in real quick again? Sourblow has a question. What was your question, Sourblow, real quick?
okay,
Before
I
we,
got two questions. These are my last question, and there's one for each.
okay.
For Purple Haze, my question is: it's if Microsoft, is ahead of the technology, they have the resource, and for example, we saw Google. They came out with Stadia, which was very innovative at the time, but as have talked before, they really didn't like fully invest into like what Stadia could have been, and we have like other companies, probably like Amazon. They don't seem to be going all at it. My thing is, if Microsoft is trying to push on a market that it's still not established, we don't even know if it will work or not. Isn't that kind of stopping innovation in a way? Because like someone has to be like the first one to like really
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not. What I am saying, I'm not, like, I hear what y'all are saying. Like, trust me, I hear what you're saying. What I am saying though is that if you look at what has been laid out and what Microsoft has as far as a vertical, right? There's three main components that you need to cloud gaming. You need servers, you need a content library of some sort, whether you import it or you need your
Yeah.
organic content library. And then you need a way to do cloud gaming, right? Which is all it is a virtual PC. It's nothing special, right? So it's either a Linux virtual machine in the cloud or it's a Windows virtual. That's how we've seen it. So what the regulators are saying, the CMA has said, what the EU also found, what New Zealand is looking at, what the FTC has also put out there is this, is that Microsoft has already a content library that is only rivaled by two players, Nintendo and PlayStation. The next point, cloud technology. They need servers, okay? They can only be rivaled by only a handful of companies, SAP, Oracle, Google, and Amazon. It's basically your biggest cloud providers, and maybe I'm forgetting one in the top six. But they're saying Microsoft and none of those other companies have a content library. Luna kind of does. Google left it, so it says okay. Well, Luna kind of does. Luna has the money, so let's look at the third thing. And that third thing is, how do you run something in a virtual machine, right? And that is when you need an operating system, and that is why Windows has come up. Is that because, and that is why for this deal, Microsoft has said you will have access to PC Game Pass, right? They didn't say all the Game Pass. They said PC Game Pass, right? Because you need that licensing deal. And that's what NVIDIA showed today. NVIDIA said what changed it for us wasn't necessarily the content. Yes, we wanted the content, and the content's very important to a service. They said that. What they said actually changed their minds to the deal was Microsoft dropped their licensing fee for the Windows virtual machine to make it much cheaper. So now when you have the power, Microsoft has the power, y'all continue to say Call of Duty will be on GeForce Now, NVIDIA GeForce Now. You say Call of Duty will be on Boosteroid. But have you seen the licensing deal for the Windows? No, you haven't. No one has seen that because that came from a different part of the company that didn't come through the gaming division. And that's what they explained today. That's the same thing. That's when you can control the entire vertical and when it suits your needs. So sure, they have Call of Duty, but if they raise the licensing fee, what happens then? Did we see a 10-year deal on the licensing fee? Did we see, like,
No.
it costs a lot of money and Microsoft has an ability to always undercut the market. That's all they're saying. They're saying, like, hey, if you want this deal to go through, you want it to be about mobile, make the deal about King. If you, the CMA even gave them the option to say, make the deal about, you want it Blizzard, you want King, go make the deal. But they said the whole combination of the studios that Activision actually has, that was just a little too much. That's what it came down to. It's a subjective, not objective. I don't know what to tell you other than that's the whole argument in a nutshell.
Honestly, listening to you, you know, you make a lot of sense here. Unfortunately for me personally, from what I have heard, I don't think the FTC has explained it the way that you have. So good job on your end there.
We haven't seen the court documents though. That's like, you have to understand there's two, the trial is just testimony, right? But we have not seen the actual court document, the actual file. It's sealed, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you look at what they put into their initial lawsuit, it explains this in detail, what you need for cloud gaming, what you need, like where they define all this stuff. Right now, it's just testimony. It's really about got you games, or if you had a really reliable person, that's what it is. But if you look at the actual court cases, they will always like kind of go back to the filing, because right now it's just about who's polished, who's not, and try to catch you, like try to cut the integrity of the witness, so they're, whatever evidence they submitted isn't saying. So Bobby Kodak's a perfect example today. I don't think he helped Microsoft whatsoever.
Yeah. So before my question to Ecstasy, Silent, I saw you raise your hand. You want to go first, or should I just ask Ecstasy my next question?
No, we're good. We're good. I had something in mind, but then I saw a shiny object and I lost focus.
Okay.
So you guys go ahead. I feel like we went for a while on that, and
Yeah.
yeah, Purple brings up a really good point though, with something that we don't hear a lot about is the actual percentage as to like what their fee is going to be. Now, I think competitively so far we've seen that they've been aggressive. They've done the 80-20 in some situations in the past. And they've been, it looks like they've been more approachable or more supportive with like people getting involved and not getting as much pulled away from their profit margin. But it does make me a little nervous sometimes because like there is always a possibility, and this is why we always talk about competition, right? Is like if someone does get into that position to go against Microsoft where they could force them to actually drop their profit margins, like if they decide all of a sudden, hey, we're going back to 70-30 or something like that, if someone else came in to compete against them, at least there's that. If you don't have someone to compete against them, there's not that competition, just like what we have right now. The consoles, like if you don't have a competition against each other in those ecosystems, people are not going to actually vie for your money. So if Microsoft did end up getting a leg over everyone, they could probably put a more intensive monetary uh, punishment towards anyone
Yeah.
in their ecosystem. If that makes sense. I feel like I'm talking in circles, so my
No, you're good.
bad.
You're good. Now, my final question to Ecstasy is: you mentioned that on your end, you believe that the FTC didn't have a strong enough argument. Do you see anything that the FTC on your end you believe they could have done better until now in order to defend their take? Like for example, for my personal opinion, I believe like that something that they could have argued was where are the deals for like Amazon Luna? You know, why are you only providing deals to certain cloud competitors and not to like the bigger ones? And well, do you have
Mm,
anything in mind?
in all the documents presented to the judge, I don't know if they have very strong arguments, but what I have been seeing in the court, I think that the lawyer's performance was a shame. Was at completely shame. They don't know how to connect their arguments. The questions were easy to respond, and I thought that when they have some interesting arguments, they break that all. For example, if I can remember, with Phil Spencer, for example, I think that they could have been talking more about other things like, for example, the cloud gaming and all the mention that they have been doing about cloud gaming, and not talking about, can you promise about Call of Duty and all the games? And they look so childish. And of course, in a judge, I think that the forms are important and they lose the forms a lot of times. So, of course, I try to understand all the points, but I don't see relevant evidences that we could have a case or something like that. Of course, if we have that arguments, Meta Within could the FTC could acknowledge that preliminary injunction. They didn't acknowledge, so I don't understand why here they are acknowledging the preliminary injunction and with Meta Within no, because Meta Within was a market leader in the VR space.
They
And
lost. They
Microsoft
lost.
is not a market leader in any market that they
They
were
lost the
talking about.
preliminary injunction against Meta Within. They
Yeah,
did
yeah,
go
that's
through
why.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, but
that's what I'm saying.
but they
I
but
can know why
why did
with Meta
they
Within no and here yes.
with Meta Within, the main reason they lost, they took a very central theory they took a very uh, novel approach. And what they said is basically Meta had the option to build a VR app, right? They could build it. Instead, they went out and bought it. The judge took them on definition, but said at the end of the day, Meta didn't have the ability to build a Peloton. He literally says that. He says they don't have the ability to build a Peloton. They don't have the ability to have a Nike gym. So they either have several different options. They can either buy it, they can either go partner with someone, or they can try to build it organically. And the judge said they're all somewhat similar in like cost structure and so forth. And so that's why he said like you don't have a case here, FTC. This case, the FTC took a different take on it, and again, the FTC here, it's not about how extreme the anti-competitive practice is. It's not about, should you be able to block it? Like the FTC has made it very clear. This is about the preliminary injunction and what it needs to get the preliminary injunction. And I continue to say, the regulators around the world who have said that have mattered, that we've talked about on here, whether it's EU, CMA, whoever, have all said that there's anti-competitive effects in the cloud market. Now, once you go to administrative law judge, or once you go to whatever, and you say whether or not you should be able to block it or whatever, that's at a different state. But right now, to say that there's an anti-competitive, I think the case has already been made.
But they don't have any quantitative evidence about that anti-competitive effects. What I am understanding is like that. Okay, we say cloud market because Europeans and British say that this is a market. This is a small market, and they could make a partial foreclosure, and harm the other competitors. But where are the numbers? Robin Lee or someone, where are the numbers?
But the innovation, that's the whole point about innovation. You cannot, and that's like why you're going to continue to.
But with these arguments, FTC always win. They have to always win because we don't need anything.
They can't always win. Like I said, the thing that makes this trial very interesting, again, it's one of the first times you have the CMA diverging from the EU on the actual outcome. I continue to say when it comes to antitrust on the global stage, usually the FTC is going to follow, or the judicial system is going to follow precedent. And that's why I said, like...
But Microsoft addressed that problems.
They answered it. I don't know if they addressed it. Like, again, it's just precedent. Like, I think if you ask me what's going to happen in this case, to be very honest, I think that the judge is going to say there's no harm in console. I'm going to say that they didn't win on market definition for subscription services, but I'm going to say she's going to probably say something around cloud that
you win the definition in the cloud market, but which is the harm in the cloud market? Okay, we have a cloud market, but
because they could form a monopoly. They can form a monopoly in the cloud market.
I can't form a monopoly if I share my content with all my competitors.
Because your competitors, under the cloud market. Go ahead.
Can I jump in and say something? What she's trying to say is that, for example, since Microsoft has so much, for example, in Windows, right? And they provide their content through Windows, through this, through that, to the other people, they can actually form a monopoly inside of that platform. And basically leave everybody out.
But we are having a mistake on that, because if we try to prove the separate market of cloud gaming, arguing that in Europe they know it, in Europe they don't have worries about the harm using the ecosystem of Windows, the pack. They are just saying that cloud gaming market is a different market, but they don't talk about the power of Windows and other stuff to have that advantage.
Yeah,
because that was a preliminary theory of harm that the European Union had in the first phase, and then they removed that.
Well, no, the CMA used that exact same theory, right? The CMA used that theory, but the EU...
The CMA has seen that they didn't use the combo Windows Azure.
For the cloud, when they said for the cloud theory of harm, that is, I just literally...
But they don't talk about the power of the infrastructure. They talk about the power of the content. So
no, they talked about it in 3 phases. Go look at the actual judgment.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. I'm just gonna say, well, the first thing is Thank you so much, Ecstasy. Thank you, Purple Haze. So for those of you in the chat that has not followed any of our two guests, please go in the description and make sure you follow them. Especially Purple Haze. We're trying to get her to let's get her to like 500 subscribers. Man. We
I
need
don't
her
know.
to reach that goal. Hopefully, we can get you close to that. And it's been a very great conversation. We actually this has been the longest episode of Xbox
Been
International.
intense.
It's
So
been
It's
intense.
and
It's
and,
been
intense.
and
great.
I
It's
I
been
feel like we
great.
could keep going, but I know Plume has to actually he has to go and make a video, and he has some things going on,
Got
and
baseball.
hopefully we can do a part two because this is a very interesting conversation. I actually learned a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been great. So crazy. I hope I hope does anyone has like anything to say before I
No.
To
pass it to
add
crazy to
before,
for outros?
yeah, before we go, anything extra? Because yes, I know it's late also for ecstasies, and yeah.
No, he's up late. No, I just want to say, like, XC, I totally and to everybody else, like, I'm just saying, seeing it how I see it. Like, I'm not,
No,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yeah,
course.
No, you
yeah,
don't
No,
have
yeah,
it's.
to. You're fine.
No, it was great.
You don't have to.
I
This is
think I think Crazy said it really well. When you're
Anything to
looking
say.
online, you're looking at the articles, you're looking on Twitter, it all seems very, very positive towards Microsoft. So getting another perspective kind of puts it.
yeah.
Let's say at the end of the day, the FTC wins this, it'll make more sense now because of the explanations that you're giving us. So
Yeah.
it was good for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I said it before. I mean, I'm happy always to hear both sides of the story because again, if we see the internet, like for example, the internet one day is positive, the other day is negative, then positive to negative. But usually, when you go on these podcasts, you hear more positives than negatives. So it's always good to hear both sides. Like for example, people might find the FTC thing negative, but for other people, they might find it positive, right? But for me, this has been a learning experience, because like for example, what you said about the monopoly, the things like that. Those are stuff that I take it in and say, oh wow, I didn't think about this way. I didn't see it this way. And ecstasies, like he was saying about the European Union, they said this, they said that, but maybe they don't see it like how the other person sees it. But on thing that I said before, and I'll repeat again, is that since the FTC in the beginning has been saying no, 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 for me it looks like they're just like going for a fight. That's how I always saw it, going for a fight. But Purple, you giving us your thoughts. It's awesome. Totally love it, and I love that you bring those thoughts in here, and I love it that other people can see it, even though a bunch of the chat agreed, a bunch of them disagreed. They're like, they never showed
whatever.
anything. But it's good. It's good. All this stuff is good because it's a learning curve and it's
And
good to learn.
chat, she is not a pony, okay?
No,
Chat.
she's not a pony. Trust me, she's not a pony.
It's
She's
the
not.
ugliest console. I don't know. Like, I stream on Exa. It's ugly. Like, I tell
It
you
is
that.
ugly.
I know. I have two Xboxes, right? Like, just because I have two TVs. Like, I truly do.
I know. We
I was
believe
actually
you.
trying to keep an eye on the chat. I
Yeah.
at least I didn't see them, being too harsh. They
I
did kind of call you
I
a pony
tried.
here and there.
I
but
tried.
Yeah.
I know. But hey,
I
guys,
try.
it was fun. But
I,
go for Sam.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say I think in a situation like this, like Ecstasy's Purple, thank you so much for coming to do all this and hang out with us.
Yeah.
Sorry we took you as long as we did.
No, don't
But
worry.
yeah, I think it's a situation, right, where there's very intense opinions on both sides of it. And like it's like what Crazy was saying is like it's great to see everyone's opinions on it. It's good to see both sides of it, and it definitely does give you more to think about. So thank you.
Yeah,
Truly.
thank you, and thank you, Ecstasy, too, for giving your experience. And again, like I said, I
Yeah.
wanted to, like I thanked you earlier. You've been keeping us with the court. Example for me, for example, Zoom kicked me out. Those son of a, I'm not gonna say the word, but damn them to hell, they kicked me out this morning. I couldn't even log in to see the Zoom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy that you've been keeping us up with the information. I'm happy that Foss is doing it, but you're doing it also. And basically, what you post, I'm literally reading everything you're posting, and it's been helping me out a lot and helping me understand what's going on. Because hey, you're a lawyer. Purple.
I'm not a merger
No,
acquisitions
no,
Oh, yeah,
lawyer in
no,
the
no,
United
no, no,
but
States.
no.
I just want to say to Ecstasy, like, as someone who's
I'm a for the context. I'm a maritime lawyer.
no, you did to argue business and law in another language is not easy. So to me,
Yeah.
if I had to, you did amazing. So
No, thank
I
you.
just want to say that as someone who's tried to do that,
No,
I
I've
cannot.
learned.
So
I've learned
no,
a lot as well.
yeah,
So thank you so
it's
much, and
amazing.
it was very great to can share different points of view, because I don't know if I content creator of Xbox that I always see one side of the history, so it's fine
Oh,
to
Uh,
know other
I
points of
wouldn't.
view.
I wouldn't say I'm a lawyer. I'm not gonna say I'm a lawyer. I just know law. I'm not gonna say I'm a lawyer. I don't want y'all to know what I am. But thank you. But I
Wink,
just
wink,
Ecstasy.
nudge.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
But hey, guys, it was such a fun episode. Shout out to the 111 people that came to the chat. You guys are awesome. Please subscribe. Please hit that like button. We totally appreciate it. And also hit that bell so when the XBI content goes on, you guys can sit with us, chill with us, especially me when I play scary games and when Sourblow play his cool sword, weird, cool game, which is awesome. I love his sword. I don't remember what's called, but he's been playing a cool
You
game
love
also.
my sword.
The sword game. Not that sword, you weirdo. But anyways, let's go for our outros. Let's start with our awesome guests. We want to thank you all for joining us tonight. It was such a fun episode. Let's start with you, Purple, since ladies first, of course. Tell us where everybody can find you on Twitter, social media, and YouTube channel. Everything.
Yeah.
Tell us everything.
So I thank you so much, Sourblow. I think you put my stuff down in the description box. So thank you so much. Tomorrow I have a premiere of an interview. I do mostly interviews with content creators. I've lucky to have Louis as well as Silent Cypher on my show. We talk about their gaming journey. It's not really console stuff. And tomorrow I am going to have Tequila Works, a Spanish gaming company who does Guilt, who's going to be launching on all platforms July 6th. I will be interviewing them tomorrow. Super excited. And then Sundays you can catch me playing usually horror games. Again, not normally not normally anything console or anything. It's more more
I
Oh,
I just
but
want to say, Purple, I'm very excited for your upcoming guests because Tequila Work, they actually worked on a game called Rhyme, which
yes,
is
they talk
it's
about it. It's an amazing game.
it's an indie game. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I got to play it through Game Pass, and at the time that I played it, I actually I lost my grandma, and that game really I really like that game, and it really you know I really connected with that game, so I
and
truly recommend that game.
all right, all right. That's cool. That's cool. And now, ecstasies. Please tell everybody where they can find you, sir. And thank you so much for joining us tonight, brother. Always fun to have you and Purple too. It's always fun. You guys are just awesome. But ecstasies, tell everybody where they can find you.
Thank you for the invitation again, and wherever you want, I can, whenever you want, I can be here. And you can find me in YouTube, Ecstasies, like you can see this in this video, and Ecstasies TV on Twitter. Just that to social media, I comment about mergers and acquisitions, about Xbox gaming, and I try to make some leaks and some exclusives about Xbox Game Studios and Cinemax and wherever I can get.
All right, all right, all right. Now, the big, the awesome, the Plume Man. Tell everybody where they can find you, brother. Besides teaching Dominican Spaceball on Wednesday sometime.
Yeah. First of all, XC's PurpleHaze, awesome guest today. Thanks for coming on. That was very, very informative. Yeah, Plume Network on YouTube and Twitter, and yeah, you guys know where to find me.
All right, all right, all right. Now, our awesome, handsome, sexy voice captain. Tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
First and foremost, Ecstasy is Purple. Thank you so much for coming to hang out. I know, again, like I said, it was a heated conversation. But you guys are always welcome to come hang out. It's always fun to hang out with you guys every time that we've been together on the show or that I've seen your guys' personal content. It's been a good time. So thank you so much. And yeah, hopefully we can do this again soon. As far as where you can find me pretty much everywhere on social media as Silent Cypher, mainly Twitter, TikTok, and then you can find me on Xbox, PlayStation, everywhere else is Silent Cypher as well. And of course, here on Wednesdays, because, where else am I going to be on a Wednesday?
All right. And now, the Lionel Richie wannabe, the most sour person in this podcast, Sourblow. Tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
Oh man! Well, first of all, again, thank you, PurpleHaze. Thank you, Ecstasy, for coming over to and participating in this talk. Basically, it was nice having you guys. You can find me, of course, here. You can find me Sourblow18 on Twitter and Xbox. You can also find me on Fridays on Xbox International en Español, which Ecstasy, we actually have to bring you one of these weeks there.
My problem is that my girlfriend didn't allow me stay on Twitter or YouTube on Fridays,
No
Saturdays,
Friday.
and Sundays.
We're gonna have to
So,
steal you one.
I
one of
will
these
try.
weeks.
I will try, but it's like we work the entire week, and our time is in the weekend, and I respect that.
I gotcha.
I want to stay to have my time with her, and I try, but in the nights is the time that we spend watching movies, going outside or whatever. But I will try with when my girlfriend go to see her parents or whatever. I will try to go to Xbox International en Español con nuestro amigo Shaddai.
All right. And where can
Glue? Where can we find you?
Oh, super easy. You can find me at Twitter at the Crazy Louis Gaming, where I say good morning and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Yes, you can find me on there. And also, you can find me on Mondays at the Double Barrel Gaming YouTube channel at Xbox Lunch Break Special with Mr. Web Dave, Mr. Boomstick, and Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, 12 noonish. And on Tuesdays, Playing with Crazy here on the Xbox International podcast, where I play scary games so you guys can watch me get scared and, make fun of me while I swing the keyboard to the computer screen. I'm trying to hit it, but yes, probably one day I will hit it. I hope I do not, because that would be really sad if that happens. And also, you can find me here Wednesdays at the Xbox International podcast at 7 p.m. ET with my brothers Sourblow, Silent Cypher, and the Big Plume when he's not coaching Dominican baseball. But anyways, guys, like I always say, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, also hit that bell so it can tell you when next BI content comes on. And remember, let's go, let's rock, and the court has been adjourned. Yeah, have a good evening, everybody. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Oh man.
See ya. Ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived at our destination. For your safety and comfort, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the captain turns off this live stream. On behalf of Xbox International, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we're looking forward to seeing you aboard next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.